I'm in GT, my brother is Broly. Chapter 276 Quan Zhao's Power Advancement, Boluolian's Request. For a time, Son Goku was very excited and murmured, Master Bupa, you use it first. Since the Super Dragon Ball exists, I can continue to grow stronger with his power. 35. Hearing this, Bupa couldn't help but glance at Son Goku. To be honest, unless he switches to a universe timeline, it's almost impossible to get Super Dragon Ball. After all, after this incident, Bupa will take away a Super Dragon Ball, and it will be impossible to summon Super Shenron by then. However, it is impossible for Bupa to say such a thing. After all, he does not know what Carrier's purpose is. Thinking of this, Bupa immediately said, if so, then your current direction should be shifted to Zhao Si first. 5. Once the full power state of Super 4 is completed, your power will also soar. The increase at that time will not be inferior to that of Super Saiyan God Pink. Yes, Lord Bupa. Nodding, Son Goku looked solemn. Under such circumstances, he knew very well that it would be meaningless to continue developing the Super Saiyan form under the current circumstances. After all, Super Shen Tao Hong is only 10 times stronger, but the superposition of Super 4 and Super Shen is almost heaven-defying. Brother, should 203 teach us the transformation of Quan Zhao 3 now? At this time, Broly and Boluolian asked in anticipation, especially Boluolian. He failed to transform into a Super 4, and the only thing that can become stronger is the Super Transfer mode. In addition, the appearance of Son Goku, Azza and others made him feel his own crisis directly. Although his previous combat power was full, even his current basic combat power was not inferior to everyone else. But on the road of transformation, it is still a little worse, and it needs to become stronger. Nodding, Bupa smiled lightly, and then said, now I'll teach you the super transformation. Gohan, take a look at it too. Yes, baby. With a promise, Son Goku walked to the area next to Broly and stood up. His eyes also showing anticipation. Super pass. Although he doesn't have such bloodline, he can take this opportunity to have a good understanding of it. Very good. Seeing this situation, Bupa didn't hesitate, and immediately said, so, let's start. With a low growl, Bupa immediately entered the super transfer mode. In an instant, Bupa could clearly feel that his combat power had increased by 1000 times after he entered the super transfer mode. 1000 times the combat power. My bloodline is boosted and it really works. 35. Feeling his own condition, Bupa was very excited at the moment. Quan Zhao increased by 1000 times. What about Quan Super 2? What about Quan Zhao 3? Thinking of this, Bupa immediately said, this is the super transfer mode. I don't need to say more, you can all feel the power in it. The next step is to pass the Super 2, which is the point that you have not yet completed. Boluolian. Saying that, Bupa clenched his fists tightly and exclaimed, ha. The next second, lightning followed Bupa's body. With the special power swept out, Bupa directly entered the state of Quan Zhao 2. In an instant, Bupa's strength soared by 10,000 times, and a terrifying aura permeated the whole person. The strong sense of oppression made Son Goku and others feel cold sweats. Is this the transformation of Quan Zhao 2? What a terrible sense of oppression. Feeling the fluctuating aura from Bupa, Son Goku and the others couldn't help swallowing, especially Broly, who said subconsciously at this moment, brother, why do I feel that your breath is stronger than mine? 35. And the same Quan Zhao 2 transformation, but you seem to have a lot more power than me. Good. Looking at Broly, Bupa said indifferently, my Quan Zhao mode is similar to that of Boluolian. Quan Zhao mode can increase the combat power by 1000 times, while Quan Zhao 2 can increase the combat power by 10,000 times. What? 10,000 times? Hearing this, Broly subconsciously exclaimed, and his eyes were full of incredible colors. You must know that although his bloodline has also improved, his super transfer mode is still quite satisfactory. It can be said that, in a sense, although Bluolian is also a top-level Quan Zhao bloodline, his characteristics belong to the top-level Quan Zhao. Why is that so? Subconsciously, Broly opened his mouth, his eyes full of confusion and unwillingness. After all, Bupa has just said that his situation is similar to that of Boluolian, which means that once Boluolian completes the transformation of Quan Zhao 2, it can reach such a level. Broly, you don't have to. Seeing this situation, Bupa waved his hand and said, after I solve the hidden dangers on you, your strength may be able to reach such a level. Indeed, as long as the hidden danger brought by the power of Saiyan of evil to Broly is solved, then the power of his own blood will be strengthened again. Therefore, under such circumstances, Broly still has the possibility to go further. I see. Nodding, Broly was relieved at the moment. If it is true as Bupa said, then he does not need to be jealous or unwilling. After all, as long as you solve your own hidden dangers, there will be no problems. Big brother. 35. At this time, Boluolian on the side asked expectantly, is there any way to quickly enter the state of Quan Zhao 2? At this moment, Boluolian can't wait to complete the transformation of Quan Zhao 2. Once completed, his strength can be increased tenfold on the original basis. Looking at Boluolian, Bupa's expression was indifferent, and he immediately said, Both Broly and I can transform into Quan Jiao too. As long as the two of us inject power into your body, it will be able to arouse the power of your bloodline. At that time, you should be able to complete the transformation of Quan Jiao 2 as soon as possible, but this is also a little bit of encouragement, and you will need a period of time to settle before you can stabilize this transformation mode. Hearing this, Boluolian's eyes suddenly lit up. Although pulling the seedlings to encourage growth is not good, it is nothing to him. After all, he has not completed the transformation of Quan Jiao 2 for so long. If he can master it as soon as possible, it will not be a problem to spend a few years to stabilize. Thinking of this, Boluolian immediately said, "Big brother, second brother, please help me." 35. Please. Saying that, Boluolian bowed and saluted, his eyes full of sincerity. Chapter 277, Pulling the Seedlings to help Boluolian. No problem. Looking at Broly, Bupa and Broly looked at each other, and then said, "Since you have made up your mind, we will help you now." After speaking, Bupa looked at Broly and said, "Broly, let's start." "Yes, sir." With a promise, Broly didn't refuse. Immediately afterwards, Broly clenched his fists tightly and shouted, "Ha!" In the next second, grass-green air spewed forth. With the lightning beating, Broly also entered the transformation of Quan Jiao 2. After doing all this, Broly's eyes locked on Bupa's body and said, "Brother, I'm ready." Nodding, Bupa stepped forward and came to Boluolian's side. Immediately afterwards, 27 Bupa raised his hand and grabbed Boluolian's shoulders and said, "Broly, you are at the other end of Boluolian, and you and I injected the power of Quan Jiao 2 into Boluolian at the same time." "Yes." With a promise, Broly stepped forward and grabbed the other shoulder of Broly. When he was ready, Bupa no longer hesitated, and immediately said, "It's now, let's do it." "Ha!" With a low growl, the power of Bupa and Broly immediately began to pour into Boluolian's body. For a time, the grass-green chi continued to flow into Boluolian's body. With the passage of time, Boluolian directly entered the super transfer mode. Constantly absorbing the power of Bupa and Broly, the chi of Broly's whole body is also soaring rapidly. Ha! After a while, Boluolian burst out loudly. The next second, a surging force swept out, and Boluolian jumped with lightning all over his body, and the whole person also entered the transformation mode of Quan Jiao 2 at this moment. Success. 35. It's done. 35. Seeing this, the corners of Bupa and Broly's mouths rose, and after looking at each other, they stepped back for a while. At the moment, Boluolian closed his eyes tightly, and the whole person was still in the state of Quan Jiao 2 transformation. "Brother, this should be fine." After looking at it for a while, Broly asked with some uncertainty. "No problem." With an indifferent smile, Bupa looked at Broly, and then said, "With Broly's potential, it is enough to complete this transformation, but it's just a little bit earlier." 5. On the contrary, you have reached Quan Jiao 2 for such a long time, but you haven't touched the transformation of Quan Jiao 3 yet. You have to redouble your efforts. Hearing this, Broly's face suddenly showed an embarrassing smile. It didn't take long for him to complete the transformation of Quan Jiao 2, and he had no clue about the transformation of Quan Jiao 3. Thinking of this, Broly said subconsciously, "Brother, how about you transform into Quan Jiao 3 and let me feel?" 5. I also want to see how far the power of Quan Jiao 3 can reach. As soon as these words came out, Son Goku on the side also looked at Bupa expectantly. After all, the increase of Quan Jiao 2 has reached 10,000 times, and with the existence of the anger state, it has even surpassed Jiao 4 and Jiao Sai God. If the transformation of Quan Jiao 3 is going on, then this enhanced power is absolutely massive, even extremely terrifying. Nodding, Bupa didn't refuse anything. At this moment, he also wants to see how much combat power he can improve under the stance of Quan Jiao 3. Thinking of this, Bupa immediately clenched his fists and let out a low growl. Ha! In the next second, grass-green air rose into the sky. With the whole planet shaking, you can clearly see Bupa's entire person's hair growing rapidly. In just a few breaths, Bupa entered the state of Quan Jiao 3. Under such circumstances, Bupa slowly flew into the mid-air area. As his strength continued to increase, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of horror. 400,000 times the combat power. He already felt it. After completing the transformation of Quan Jiao 3, his basic combat power was increased by 400,000 times. It can be said that this is not inferior to any kind of transformation of Jiao Shan and Jiao Si. The most important thing is that his bloodline has reached the level of top-level Quan Jiao, and he can combine Kesai and Quan Jiao together. This also means that once Super 4 and Quan Jiao 3 are combined, the power of improvement is not inferior to Son Goku's combination of Super 4 and Super Saiyan 0. Not only that, as Quan Jiao there is also the existence of anger state. Bupa and Boluolian's rage state can increase their combat power by 1,000 times, while Broly's can be increased by 100 times. This also means that under the Quan Jiao mode, their enhanced power is absolutely superior to the combination of Jiao Si and Jiao Sai God. Thinking of this, Bupa couldn't help laughing loudly. Ha ha. This. On the ground, Son Goku, Bolian the awakened Broly also looked at Bupa in amazement. I don't understand why he was laughing in the air. However, they could all see that under such circumstances, Bupa seemed extremely happy, and even Quan Zhao 3's power seemed to satisfy the latter. After a moment, Bupa stopped laughing. Immediately afterwards, his figure descended from the sky to the ground. Big brother. 5. Master Bupa. Shouting out, Son Gohan, Broly and Bluolian quickly came forward. After seeing Bupa's appearance of Quan Zhao 3, Broly asked in anticipation, brother, how much power can Quan Zhao 3 enhance? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes also focused on Bupa. 40,000 times. 9. Without hiding it, Bupa raised his head and said, as long as you complete Quan Zhao 3, you can increase your combat power by 400,000 times. Broly, U-0.7's own hidden dangers have not been solved yet, so it is impossible to transform into Quan Zhao 3 to such a level. But even so, it can increase your basic combat power by 40,000 times. In addition to the 100-fold increase in the combat power of your anger state, in a sense, it has surpassed the suppression, and even surpassed the suppression Tao Hong's increase. Hiss. After listening to Bupa's remarks, the three of Son Gohan couldn't help but gasped, especially Son Gohan. Unexpectedly, his super race god is completely incomparable to Quan Zhao. The increased strength of the two is completely incomparable, even when Broly's blood is limited. Once its bloodline is not present, it will be 10 times stronger, and it is completely not comparable to Kesai and Tao Hong. Chapter 278. The end of the teaching. The high-spirited Champa. Too strong. It's too strong. The increase in Quan Zhao 3 is so huge. 35. Muttering in their mouths, Broly and Bluolian's eyes were extremely hot at the moment. Under such circumstances, their hearts are full of strong desires, and they even wish they could complete the transformation of Quan Zhao 3 now. But soon, the two also calmed down. Although this thing makes people yearn, it even makes him feel longing. But they are indeed not qualified to encroach on this transformation, at least in a short period of time. Big brother. Subconsciously, Broly then said, then can you transform into Quan Zhao 4? 35. As soon as these words came out, Son Gohan and Bluolian also looked at Bupa expectantly. Quan Zhao 4. That is a transformation form that looks like Super Saiyan 4. If Bupa is completed, then it is bound to get a more terrifying increase, and even. No. In response, Bupa shook his head and said indifferently, 20. It's not long before I finished Quan Zhao 3, and I don't have a good grasp and control of the state of Quan Zhao 3, and it is not something that can be accomplished overnight. Having said this, Bupa murmured to himself, unless the system refreshes the rewards of Quan Zhao 4. But under such circumstances, there is not much possibility of conquering Son Goku and Vegeta of this era. The only hope is to subdue more main plot characters and use their presence to generate the means and power I need. 5. Can't you? Hearing this, Broly's eyes flashed with disappointment. After all, this Quan Zhao 4 is definitely an existence that they are eager to see, and even eager to confirm. Don't worry. Seeing this, Bupa smiled lightly, not knowing what Broly and Boluolian were thinking. After pondering for a while, Bupa immediately said, there is no need to worry about Quan Zhao's transformation. Even if it's just the Quan Zhao mode, but the blessing of the anger state is not inferior to the transformation blessing of the Zhao Sai God. So under the current circumstances, there is absolutely no need to dwell on those things. 35. The most important thing now is to improve your basic combat power. Only the stronger your basic combat power is, the greater your strength will be after you become stronger. 35. Hearing this, all three Broly were shocked. As Bupa said, this thing is really not to be underestimated, and it can't even be done overnight. And compared to the difficulty of breaking through the transformation form, the cultivation of basic combat power is much simpler. As long as you work hard, even sweat, you can succeed. Thinking of this, everyone's faces were relieved. After looking at each other, they immediately said, brother, where are we going next? 5. Go directly to the Gods of Destruction world to practice. It's not long before the battle between the 6th universe and the 7th universe begins. Shall we go to participate then? Of course. With an indifferent smile, the corners of Bupa's mouth rose. If I don't go, how can I use the Super Dragon Ball to make a wish? 35. And without Super Dragon Ball, how would Broly's problem be solved? Hearing this, all three Broly nodded, especially Son Gohan, who was even more eager to try at this moment. I really hope that I can play against the powerhouses of the 6th universe at that time. I really want to know if the powerhouses of the 6th universe can beat me. At this moment, Son Gohan was full of fighting spirit. After all, after completing Super 4, his whole person's strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. It has even reached the stage of Gods of Destruction, and it can be said that he is definitely one of the top powerhouses in the world. All right. Seeing this, Bupa clapped his hands and said, let's go to the Gods of Destruction world now. If nothing else, the battle between the 6th universe and the 7th universe will soon begin. As soon as these words came out, all three of Son Gohan nodded. Immediately afterwards, the three of them did not hesitate. They walked forward and grabbed Bupa's shoulder. The next second, Bupa didn't hesitate any longer, and immediately launched instant transmission and disappeared from the spot. 6th Universe, Gods of Destruction World. Lord Champa, are you sure you want to teach them the power of Gods of Destruction? Vados looked at Hitt, Cal, Gale, Caulifla and Gabe in front of him and asked with surprised expressions. Not only her, including Hitt and others below are also looking at Champa curiously at this moment. Gods of Destruction after all. That's the power of the Gods of Destruction. It stands to reason that only gods can cultivate, but Champa actually wants to teach them the power of Gods of Destruction, which is incredible. Certainly. In this regard, Champa nodded without hesitation. Immediately afterward, it can be seen that Champa looked at Kaiowuren with a proud face and said, I never thought that the power of the 6th Universe Saiyan would suddenly reach such a level. If this situation continues, it is no surprise that our 6th Universe's rating will soon increase accordingly. Since that's the case, then naturally we have to cultivate some facade responsibilities, starting with the 5 of them. Beerus taught the Gods of Destruction to 207 Saiyans in the 7th Universe, then I will teach it to 5. When the time comes, I'll see how he beats me. Whether it's the wishing beads or the earth, I'm going to make a Champa. At this moment, Champa was in high spirits. After returning to the 6th Universe, he already knew the changes of Saiyan planet. It is also clear that the basic combat power of the entire 6th Universe has soared by several grades. For a time, Champa was filled with joy. As long as he can do this, it is definitely good news for him. After all, it will be time for the assessment soon, and the rise of the 6th Universe will certainly greatly improve his status. Okay, Lord Champa. 35. After taking a deep look at Champa, Vados immediately said, if that's the case, then I'll teach the 5 of them the Gods of Destruction. But Lord Champa, do you want to choose a Gods of Destruction candidate from among the 5 of them? As far as I know, the 7th Universe Lord Beerus is about to surpass the boundaries of Gods of Destruction, and he has also selected Gods of Destruction candidates. 39. What? Hearing this, Champa's pupils shrank, and then his expression changed greatly. That guy Beerus is about to break through? How is this possible? This guy's strength is obviously not much different from mine. How can he become so much stronger all of a sudden? Chapter 279 Gods of Destruction Candidate Hitt, Showdown Whis. At this moment, Champa was dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Beerus is actually one step ahead of him, which is not good news for him. For a moment, Champa's expression changed. After about a quarter of an hour, Champa came back to his senses. After taking a deep breath, he said, if that's the case, then we can't delay any longer. I also have to improve my own strength, otherwise, wouldn't I be suppressed by the Beerus sky? After finishing speaking, Champa turned his gaze to the 5K on the field, and said, who among you would like to be a candidate for Gods of Destruction? Facing the question, the 5K looked at each other for a while, not knowing how to answer and speak. After pondering for a moment, Kale and Caulifla took a step back subconsciously and said, Lord Champa, we will not participate. Gods of Destruction alternates, we're not interested. As soon as these words came out, Gabe and Kyle on the side also came back to their senses, and quickly stepped back and said, Lord Champa, we are Saiyan. Saiyan is a warrior of peace, we cannot be Gods of Destruction! 55. Hearing this, Champa's mouth twitched. Unexpectedly, the 4 of Kair did not care so much about the position of their Gods of Destruction. Subconsciously, Champa's eyes focused on Hitt, and he said, if that's the case, then the candidate in the Gods of Destruction world is Hitt. Vados, open the dimension space and bring us into practice. I need to improve their strength as soon as possible. The guys I saw in Beerus before are not weak. 99. Besides, give me a good practice with Hitt. His potential is not bad, but it has not yet been developed. Yes, Lord Champa. As soon as he agreed, Vados did not hesitate immediately, and immediately opened the dimensional space with a meeting scepter. Immediately afterwards, a group of people entered it. Vados began to instruct the 5 of Hitt to practice, while Champa entered an area alone and began to work hard to exercise his own strength. Under the stimulation of Beerus, Champa was also in high spirits at the moment, and even cared about his own strength extremely. 7th Universe, Gods of Destruction. Then the figures of Bupa and others appeared. As soon as he floated to the ground, Bupa saw the figure of Whis not far away. Whis. 9. With a shout, Bupa walked up with the 3 of Broly. Mr. Bupa. Seeing this, Whis' eyes flashed, and he immediately stood up and said, has Mr. Bupa completed his guidance? It seems that both Boluolian and Son Goku have improved a lot. Hearing this, Boluolian and Son Goku also showed smiles on their faces. They are quite satisfied with this improvement, especially Son Goku. After he completed the compatible transformation of Super 4 and Super Saiyan God, the power of the whole person has reached the level of Gods of Destruction, and he is even more energetic at this moment. Just a few pointers. With an indifferent smile, Bupa's expression at this moment is extremely indifferent. After taking a look at Whis, he immediately looked around and said, what about Azza and the others? Didn't you say you practiced within the Gods of Destruction world? Why haven't you seen any traces? They are. The corners of his mouth rose, and Whis said directly, They have entered the dimensional space to practice. 99. Mr. Bupa, do you want to go in and practice together? Glancing at Whis, Bupa shook his head and said, I don't have to. But if possible, please also ask Whis to start the dimension space and let the three of Broly enter it to practice. Although their strength has improved a lot, there is still a lot of room for improvement. As soon as these words came out, the three Broly looked at Whis expectantly. Since it is the place where Son Goku and others practice, it must not be too bad and can improve their fighting strength accordingly. Okay. Nodding his head, Whis waved the scepter in his hand and opened the dimensional space directly. After all this was done, Whis looked at the three Broly and said, you three go first. 35. I will release you when the time is up. It is good. As soon as they agreed, the three of Broly did not hesitate, and immediately jumped into the dimensional space. Zizzy. As the entrance to the dimensional space closed, Whis' eyes locked on Bupa and said, Mr. Bupa, I want to know your purpose. 35. Glancing at Whis, the corner of Bupa's mouth rose and said, Super Dragon Ball. 35. But I need to use it once before I can bring it back. Whis would like to help me. 35. Bring back? Hearing this, Whis frowned and said, Super Dragon Ball can't be taken away casually, and the Super Dragon Ball itself is owned by the 6th universe and 7th universe, and it doesn't have any effect after you take it away. This is not what Whis imagined. I thought that Carries asked Bupa to find Super Dragon Ball for something. That's why he and Vados joined forces to drive it all. But he never imagined that all this was completely different from what they imagined. Even the changes in it were completely what he imagined and guessed. I'm not very clear about that either. Shrugging, Bupa looked at Whis indifferently and said, Carries asked me to just take away a Super Dragon Ball, but she didn't say what it did, and she didn't tell me what it was. 99. If Whis you can't believe Zhao, then there's nothing I can do about it. Bupa thought twice about taking away the Super Dragon Ball and decided to show down with Whis. After all, under such circumstances, he couldn't take it away quietly. The only hope is with the help of Whis. Only with the assistance of the latter, he will be able to take away the Super Dragon Ball after contacting Carries. Is that so? Nodding thoughtfully, Whis glanced at Bupa and then said, since it's what Carries said, I'll trust her judgment. After this incident, I will help you intercept a Super Dragon Ball, and you can take him away as soon as it recovers. 39. If not, once the position of Super Dragon Ball itself is fixed. Chapter 280 Whis' Guidance, Complete Ultra Instinct. Hearing this, Bupa nodded with satisfaction. With the words of Whis, he was completely relieved. After all, the gods of destruction of the 6th universe and 7th universe were terrifying. But he was not afraid of anything. The main thing is the mind and attitude of Whis and Vados. If they want to stop it, even Bupa can't take it away with all his strength. On the other hand, if the two agreed, it would only be Beerus and Champa's blocking but could not pose a threat to him. But just in case, I also have to match Son Goku, Califra and Gale. Only when the four of them are as strong as Beerus and Champa will I be able to get out safely. Thinking of this, Bupa's heart also showed a trace of impatience at the moment. In the current situation, although the strength of and Son Goku was good, it was not enough to stop Beerus and Champa. But Bupa has no means to help them become stronger quickly, which means that if he wants to achieve this step, he must conquer the loyalty of more supporting characters as soon as possible. It would be the best news if Son Goku and Vegeta could also be brought under his command. Whis. After pondering for a while, Bupa raised his head to look at where Whis was, and then said, there are still 207 minutes until the game. I want to ask you a question about Ultra Instinct next. Ultra Instinct. Hearing this, Whis gave Bupa a deep look, not knowing what he was thinking. After a little hesitation, Whis said, if Mr. Bupa wants to complete Ultra Instinct, then I can indeed give pointers. 5. However, I can't control whether you can succeed or not. It all depends on your own understanding and chance. Mr. Bupa. Done. Hearing this, Bupa immediately laughed. With the words of Whis, he was completely relieved. Immediately, Bupa opened his mouth and said, if so, then ask Whis to enlighten me. After finishing speaking, Bupa no longer hesitated, and with one step, he immediately activated the Omen of Freedom. The next second, a hot breath swept out, and a silvery white brilliance covered Bupa's body. With the power of God spewing out at this moment, Bupa's whole person directly entered a state of freedom. Immediately afterwards, Bupa no longer hesitated, and without hesitation, he attacked the Whis in the area in front of him. In response, Whis smiled lightly, took the scepter and started to fight Bupa. Bang bang bang. Beat beat. The low growl continued. Bupa frantically started attacking Whis, and Whis played him lightly. As time passed, Whis opened his mouth to point. Under such circumstances, Bupa's practice and understanding of Ultra Instinct became more and more profound. As time passed, 20 days passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, Bupa punched out, and the target went straight to Whis' face. In this regard, Whis still understates the avoidance of the attack. Just when Whis picked up the scepter in his hand to fight back, the accident happened quietly. It can be seen that the silvery white brilliance around Bupa has been completely replaced by silver. In an instant, Bupa's hair and eyes turned silver, and the scorching aura from his whole body disappeared. The next second, Bupa's fist appeared and came directly to the area in front of Whis. The pupils shrank, and Whis's eyes showed a hint of surprise, subconsciously dodging to the side. With a puff, it could be seen that the shirt on Whis' shoulders was torn open. At this moment, Bupa's attack stopped abruptly, and the whole person stood motionless, closing his eyes and comprehending his current situation. It's actually done. Mr. Bupa's comprehension is really scary. No wonder she was selected to be sent to the 7th universe. It seems that my sister's expectations for you are also extremely huge. As he spoke, Whis repaired his injuries with a wave of his hand. Immediately afterwards, he stepped back a distance and waved a barrier to ensure that Bupa would not be disturbed in it. Buzz. At this moment, a humming sound resounded quietly. Looking at the sound, it can be seen that the scepter in Whis' hand is bright. Seeing this, Whis also came back to his senses, not thinking about what happened to Bupa. I saw it turned around and waved a big hand, and the scepter was directly locked in an area. In the next second, space is distorted. Immediately afterwards, you can see that the entrance to the dimensional space is opened. At this moment, a group of figures walked out of it quickly, and it was Son Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, Beerus, Broly, Boluolian, Son Goku and others. After stepping out of the dimensional space, Son Goku and others obviously became older. Broly, Boluolian, Son Goku look more mature. For more than 20 days, they have been in that dimensional space for 20 years. Under such circumstances, the strength of Son Goku and others has been greatly improved. The most important thing is that the relationship between them has also eased a lot at this moment, especially between Son Goku et al. And Frieza. Originally the two would be murderous when they met, but now it is more indifferent and calm. Whis. At this time, Beerus walked out of the crowd and came to Whis' side and immediately started to eat. While eating, Beerus asked inarticulately, "It's almost time. Is that Champa guy's ring ready? I have waited so long for this gambling fight, so I can't miss it." 99. Hearing this, Whis was stunned for a moment, then he said, "Lord Beerus, I'll ask my sister now." After speaking, Whis picked up the scepter and started to contact Vados. After a while, Whis stopped moving his hands and looked at Beerus. "Lord Beerus, Lord Champa's arena is almost ready. 2 days later is the agreed battle time, and then we can go to the arena to compete. However, according to my sister's communication, the 5 players in the 6th universe have also learned the gods of destruction, and everyone is in existence that should not be underestimated." As soon as these words came out, Beerus frowned. Never thought that Champa would actually teach the gods of destruction to the 5 people in the 6th universe, but thinking of Son Goku and the others on his side, Beerus was relieved quickly and waved his hand. "So what? My 7th universe has more of the gods of destruction power." Whis. What's up with that guy? Chapter 281 Shocked people, 14th Order Ultimate Combat Power. Saying that, Beerus pointed to Bupa not far away. He could feel that something was wrong with Bupa at the moment, and the aura emanating from his body seemed to be a complete Ultra Instinct. But this is also difficult for Beerus to accept. You must know that he was angry before, and it took hundreds of years of cultivation in the dimensional space to barely complete it. But what about now? How could Bupa have completed the Ultra Instinct practice in such a short period of time? That's Ultra Instinct. Why does it look different than before? 99. Isn't Bupa's Ultra Instinct silver white before? Why is it silver now? At the same time, Son Goku and others also noticed the unusualness of Bupa at the moment, and the subconscious muttering was full of puzzled eyes. Only Broly was so excited at the moment. He was 100% sure that Bupa had made it. The latter has successfully mastered Ultra Instinct, which means that he will also get this method. After all, Bupa had already told him before that as long as he could thoroughly practice Ultra Instinct, Bupa would be able to teach it to himself. Hasn't Master Beerus already seen it? With an indifferent smile, Whis glanced at Beerus and said, "Mr. Bupa has completed his Ultra Instinct practice." 35. Now his Ultra Instinct is a full version, not the free hominid used to be. Not only that, with the improvement of Ultra Instinct, Mr. Bupa's strength will also be greatly improved. I'm afraid even Lord Beerus can't take him now. Hearing this, Beerus' face was instantly ashen. He naturally knew that it was Ultra Instinct's situation, but after getting Whis' confirmation, he still had a hard time accepting it. Why? A mere Saiyan can practice Tao to such an extent. Even so quickly completed Ultra Instinct, which we spent hundreds of thousands of years cultivating successfully. The comparison between the two made Beerus burst into tears, and even wondered if he was a waste, rather than the most genius in the so-called gods of destruction. Whis, is that Ultra Instinct? How strong is the full Ultra Instinct? At this time, Son Goku and others subconsciously looked at Whis and asked. They have no concept of the full Ultra Instinct, so they don't think much of it. How strong? Looking at Son Goku, The corners of Whis's mouth rose and said, let's put it this way, unless you master the full Ultra Instinct, or your strength exceeds Mr. Bupa by at least 3 orders, otherwise he will definitely not be able to help him. And with the existence of the complete Ultra Instinct, Mr. Bupa has the strength to fight even against the powerhouses 2 classes above him. Of course, the premise of all this is that the other party does not have Ultra Instinct, or that Ultra Instinct's practice is not as good as Mr. Bupa. Hiss. After listening to Whis's words, Son Goku and the others couldn't help taking a deep breath. Even though they knew that Ultra Instinct was powerful a long time ago, they didn't expect it to be so powerful. Can cross tier 2 battles. Even the power oppression that does not exceed the 3rd order can hardly help the opponent. Doesn't this mean that once they master this technique, even the gods of destruction can't help them? Even if you master the complete Ultra Instinct, is there even the possibility of surpassing gods of destruction? Gudu. After swallowing, Son Goku said with hot eyes, Ultra Instinct is actually so powerful. If I can also master it, it will definitely become more powerful. As soon as these words came out, Vegeta and the others rolled their eyes. Ultra Instinct. This can actually be mastered at will. It's unbelievable how shocked Beerus looked after Bupa completed Ultra Instinct. At this moment, Bupa in the far area let out a low growl. In the next second, it can be seen that the silver radiance all over his body is dazzling, and the whole person has completely mastered the full version of Ultra Instinct. Ding! Congratulations to the host for mastering the full version of Ultra Instinct. The system beeps loudly. Bupa's closed eyes also quietly opened at this moment. Immediately afterwards, Bupa had no time to say anything, and the sound of the system in his ears kept ringing. Ding! Bound character Broly's combat power increased by 1000 to trigger a tenfold return. Congratulations to the host for increasing the combat power by 1000. Ding! Bound character Boluolian's combat power has increased by 10 rang to trigger 10 times the return. Congratulations to the host for increasing the combat power of Rang Z by 100 rang. 0 flowers. Ding! The bound character Raise's combat power is increased by 100 rang to trigger a tenfold return. Congratulations to the host for increasing the combat power by 1000 rang. Ding! Binding character Son Goku's combat power increased by 4000 triggers and return 10 times. Congratulations to the host for increasing his combat power by 4. In an instant, Bupa received the return of the 4 Blueolians' increased combat power. At the same time, under the blessing of that mysterious state, his basic combat power increased by more than 1000 ditch. In an instant, Bupa could clearly feel his rapid combat power soaring. Originally there were only a few dozen ditches basic combat power, but now it has reached more than 1000 ditch. Subconsciously, Bupa said, System, check your own information. ... Bupa, race, Saiyan, bloodline, top level transcendent bloodline. Combat strength, 1500 grooves. Transformation, anger state, advanced, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan mode, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan Pink. Ability, Kaioken, Time Flash, Free Extreme Omen, Final Flash. 1500 ditch basic combat power. Good, very good. After seeing his own situation, Bupa couldn't help but burst into laughter. The basic combat power of 1500 grooves means that his ultimate combat power can reach the level of 14th order. Rank 14 combat power, that has already reached the limit of Angel. You know, the strength of Whis and Vados is about 15, but they are also the best among Angel. In addition, some weak Angels are only afraid that the limit of strength is around 14th order. Of course, Bupa also understands that this is only their basic combat power. If he can transform, then he is still not Angel's opponent. Even learning the full version of Ultra Instinct is no exception. After all, this full version of Ultra Instinct is almost all Angel's necessary means, but it is not that gods of destruction needs countless years of practice to be difficult to succeed. But even so, Bupa was already excited enough at the moment. Not only did his basic combat power soar this time, he even completed the complete Ultra Instinct. It can be said that he has achieved another goal of the 7th universe. Chapter 282 The Power of Freedom, Beerus Challenge. Whis. After a while, Bupa came back to his senses, turned his head to look at Whis outside the barrier, and said, Open the barrier. 5. Okay, Mr. Bupa. 35. With a promise, Whis did not hesitate, and immediately waved his hand to open the barrier. The next second, Bupa's figure came out of it. Brother, Master. 55. Seeing this situation, Broly and others also stepped forward quickly. After reaching the area in front of Bupa, their eyes became hot, and they said, Brother, is this the complete Ultra Instinct? Master, is this Ultra Instinct really so powerful? Hearing this, Bupa glanced at Broly and the others, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly. Want to experience it? In that case, then you all attack me together. 27. Hearing this, Broly and others were all dumbfounded. Attack on Bupa. Is this something that can be done? But so far, it seems that there is no better choice. After all, They all want to try whether this ultra instinct is as defiant as Whis said. After looking at each other, Ace and the others no longer hesitated and said, "So, Master, then we will be offended." After speaking, Azza attacked Bupa without hesitation. In the next second, Azza's fist approached the door of Bupa's face. At this critical moment, Bupa managed to avoid all the attacks with a flick of his body. Immediately afterwards, before Ace could even react, Bupa's punch hit his lower abdomen. What? With a scream, Ace was shot and flew out without even the slightest reaction. Seeing this situation, Broly and others were dumbfounded. Bupa dodged the attack, and even counterattacked so quickly that it was unbelievable. They didn't even realize what was going on, and Azza was knocked out. Is this the power of Ultra Instinct? It's really a terrible skill, and it can really achieve such a level. Muttering in the mouth, Broly and the others' eyes also became hot at the moment. Up to now, they do not doubt the strength of Bupa. I don't doubt the horror of Ultra Instinct, but my heart is more eager to fight. Without the slightest hesitation, Broly and the others rushed out and attacked Bupa. The next second, Broly, Boluolian, Son Goku, Son Goku and Vegeta appeared in the area beside Bupa. Without the slightest hesitation, the attack in their hands was directed towards Bupa. All areas were sealed off, giving Bupa no chance or possibility to dodge. However, the reality is cruel. Although they blocked Bupa's dodging possibility, but as their attack was launched, Bupa also seized this momentary flaw. Bang bang bang. The sound of several collisions resounded, and it could be seen that the 5 figures were directly knocked out. It hit the ground hard, and Broly and the others didn't even realize what was going on. At this moment, Frieza's low growl resounded. It can be seen that when he raised his hand, countless Kaigong bullets attacked Bupa, and there were not many gaps. However, even this did not have any effect. Bupa's figure can be seen walking back and forth, constantly avoiding Frieza's attack. In just a few breaths, his figure appeared in the area in front of Frieza. Without the slightest hesitation, Bupa threw a punch. Frieza screamed, and instantly fell to his knees without any resistance at all. At this moment, a deafening roar resounded. It can be seen that the Kaigong bomb that Frieza erupted before exploded, and countless dust emerged, which then awakened everyone around. Gudu. After swallowing, Broly and the others looked at Bupa, who was standing in the arena in astonishment, their eyes full of horror and disbelief. 3 tons. It's just too powerful. In front of Bupa, they didn't even feel the slightest possibility of winning. For a time, the eyes of a group of people became extremely hot. Ultra Instinct. It's definitely something they've only dreamed of, and even desperately longed for. So strong. It's too strong. Ultra Instinct. I must learn this trick. Subconsciously clenching their fists, Azza and the others were breathing heavily, and the bottom of their eyes was now completely covered by the brilliance of Ultra Instinct, full of desire and desire. Clap clap. At this time, Beerus clapped his hands not far away, and walked into the area of the field. After looking at Bupa, Beerus raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Bupa should finish the battle that you and I have not yet finished. Although you and I both have Ultra Instinct, that doesn't mean you can beat me." Hearing this, Bupa also looked at Beerus. For the latter, he was extremely apprehensive when he first arrived in the 7th universe. Even at that time, Beerus could completely obliterate him with a wave of his hand, which can be said to be an almost invincible existence. Even to say something unpleasant, at that time, Bupa didn't even dare to provoke Beerus. But now his strength is not inferior to Beerus, and even stronger in a sense. Thinking of this, the fighting spirit in Bupa also spewed out. His eyes locked on Beerus and said, "So, let's continue." 99. Whis, please also isolate this place. Okay. 39. Nodding, Whis glanced at Bupa and Beerus before raising the scepter. In the next second, the brilliance of the scepter followed. Only 0.7 is an instant of time, and a beam of light burst out of the sky, directly constructing an enchantment to surround Bupa and Beerus. At this moment, the figures of Broly and others were directly blocked, including the figure of Whis also appeared in the outside area. After all this was done, Whis said, "Lord Beerus, Mr. Bupa, you can do your best in it. As long as your power does not surpass mine, you cannot break this barrier." As soon as these words came out, both Beerus and Bupa nodded. Immediately afterwards, the two sides looked at each other, and the atmosphere in the field became tense. At the same time, Broly and others in the outside world were also in awe, staring at Bupa and Beerus, who were facing each other in the arena, looking forward to their final duel. Chapter 283 Beerus Limit, Bupa's strongest transformation. Bupa, let's get started. After a brief confrontation, Beerus quietly said, "Now your strength is not comparable to me." As he spoke, the purple-black brilliance around Beerus followed, and he immediately entered the Gods of Destruction mode. In an instant, the chi around Beerus soared, and the basic combat power of the 11th rank increased rapidly, and the 13th rank was interrupted in just a few breaths. System, check Beerus information. Seeing this, Bupa's eyes flashed, and he immediately opened his mouth to give orders to the system. In the next second, Beerus' message appeared in front of his eyes. Beerus, race, God, bloodline, superior bloodline, combat strength, 800 positive, transformation, Gods of Destruction form, ability, destruction, Ultra Instinct, 800 positive basic combat power. After reading Beerus' message, Bupa's eyes showed a trace of solemnity and seriousness. 800 positive basic combat power. Under such circumstances, after he transformed into the form of gods of destruction, his own combat power has reached the level of 8,000 poles. That's funny. The ultimate combat power of 8,000 poles. This is not even Ultra Instinct. If Ultra Instinct is displayed, there is no doubt that Beerus' ultimate combat power will reach the 14th rank or even infinitely close to the 15th rank. Inwardly, Bupa raised his head and glanced at Beerus, then said, "Beerus, it seems that your penance during this period is not ineffective." 35. After so many years of delay, you can be regarded as a true accumulation of money. If that's the case, then I'm no longer hiding, and today I will defeat you in the name of Quan Zhao. 99. With that said, Bupa stepped out, and his body began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, Bupa's chi began to soar, 1.5 streams, 15 streams, 150 streams. At this moment, Bupa grew to a height of about 7.3 meters. The high-level rage state erupted, and the 1,000-fold increase in combat power directly brought his basic combat power to level 10. So strong. The state of anger actually increases the combat power 1,000 times. 99. Unbelievable. Is this the limit of Quan Zhao's strength? The state of anger is not only a 10-fold increase in combat power. In this scene, Son Goku, Vegeta and the others were immediately stunned, subconsciously exclaiming, their eyes full of incredible colors. Especially Vegeta. I thought the gap between the two sides would not be too big, but I didn't expect it to reach such a level. Just being angry can increase your combat power by 1,000 times. What about Super 4? What about Quan Zhao? For a time, Vegeta looked at Bupa with mixed emotions, and even a faint hint of fear and worship appeared in her eyes. For nothing else, if the gap between the two sides is not big, then he will be jealous, resentful, and even unbalanced. But when the strength of the two sides is really too far apart, the instinct to worship the strong will also be born. Not only him, but also Son Goku, Frieza, Asa and others looking at Bupa at this moment are also full of fiery yearning and admiration. It was at this moment that Bupa burst out. In the next second, Bupa's chi began to soar. 750 stream, 7.5 positive, 3,000 positive, 6,000 positive. After reaching a full 6,000 points, Bupa's combat power stopped growing just now, and a terrifying aura swept out of the whole person, and immediately collided with Beerus' chi. Rumbling, rumbling, the world of gods of destruction continued to shake at this moment, and the power of terror continued to erupt at this moment. With the passage of time, in just a few dozen breaths, the chi of the two almost destroyed the ground and reduced it to ruins. Good. Looking at Bupa's state, Beerus raised the corner of his mouth and said, "The 11th tier combat power should not be underestimated. But this shouldn't be your limit. Let's show your Kaioken. Only those who have reached rank 12 are qualified to fight with me." Speaking of which, Beerus looked proud. Although Bupa's strength is strong, even beyond the stage of gods of destruction, but he does not take it seriously. Really? 35. Hearing this, Bupa laughed. Looking at the arrogant Beerus in the arena, the corner of his mouth rose and said, "Beerus, if it was before, my limit was indeed 12th order. But now I am not the same. Don't forget that I am the legendary Super Saiyan, not the ordinary Super Saiyan." 35. Now I'll show you the power that truly belongs to the legendary Super Saiyan. With a low growl, Bupa's body was full of rage. Grass-green chi swept out at this moment, and in just a few breaths, his hair turned grass-green. With the continuous growth of its hair, Bupa's breath also began to soar rapidly at this moment. 6 plants, 60 to 600 to 6,000 to 6 poles, 24 poles. After reaching 24 poles, Bupa's power stopped growing. In an instant, Bupa's entire body has completed the ultimate transformation. Anger state plus Super 4 plus Pass Super 3. Under the superposition of these three powers, his strength has reached the 13th level with 210, which is not much better than Beerus. How is this possible? Tier 13 combat power. Damn, your Super 4 can actually transform and bless you. 55. Seeing this scene, Beerus was dumbfounded, and his eyes were full of incredible and horrified colors. Not only him, including Broly, Son Goku and others outside the barrier are also wide-eyed and full of astonishment. 24 poles of combat power. Tier 13 terrifying strength. Is this the horror after the Super Game and Quan Zhao are superimposed? This is the ultimate power that really belongs to the legendary Super Saiyan. 66.99. For a moment, Son Goku and the others couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Their eyes looking at Bupa were even more fiery, yearning and admiring. Tier 13 combat power. That's a combat power comparable to Beerus. In such a situation, who can match it? It is also Saiyan, and the gap is so huge, especially Broly. The two of them. At this moment, their breathing was even more rapid to the extreme. If Bupa can do this, it means they can do it too. Although there may be some gaps, it does not mean that they cannot do it. Chapter 284 entered Beerus, Extreme Gods of Destruction form. No, it's more than that. Suddenly, Son Goku seemed to have thought of something, and his whole body shook. Kaioken, Bupa and Kaioken have not been cast yet. 35. Once the Kaioken is used, his power will even surpass that of Lord Beerus. As soon as these words came out, the audience fell silent. Everyone was stunned by Son Goku's words, even in disbelief. Kaioken. Yep, Bupa and Kaioken didn't show up. Once the Kaioken is used 100 times, Bupa's combat power will even reach a terrifying 2,400 poles. In comparison, Beerus' 600 pole combat power is completely impossible to be his opponent. Are you going to witness Beerus' defeat today? Are you going to witness the failure of the gods of destruction today? 66.99. For a time, such a thought appeared in the minds of AIs and others. Immediately afterwards, their breathing became rapid. If it can really do so, it is absolutely exciting news for them. After all, after knowing the existence of Beerus, they all knew that they could not be their opponents at all. Even now their strength has increased a lot, but the strength of Beerus is also frightening. So, now Bupa is definitely the closest existence to success. Even if he succeeds, then, good. Inside the barrier, Beerus' eyes were fixed on Bupa's location. A hot look poured out of his eyes, and his fighting intent became extremely intense at this moment. Not for anything else, because he could clearly feel that Bupa really had the power to fight him. The most important thing is that under such circumstances, he can truly try to see where his limits are. Come on, Bupa. Stepping out, Beerus said with a high fighting spirit. Not urgent. In response, Bupa shook his head, looked at Beerus, and then said, just 24 poles of combat power. I'm not enough to defeat you. It's not even possible to match you at all. After all, you have a combat power of 600 poles. However, it is a little bit bullying to cast 100 times Kaioken, so let's cast a 50 times Kaioken. 35. As he spoke, Bupa took a deep breath, and immediately clenched his fists and exclaimed, 50 times Kaioken. Ha! 35. In the next second, a crimson radiance emerged. Kaioken's power then exploded, and Bupa's combat power soared rapidly at this moment, reaching 1,200 poles in just a few breaths. After all this was done, the corner of Bupa's mouth rose, his eyes locked on Beerus and said, the combat power is twice yours, Beerus, come on. After speaking, Bupa stepped on the ground and rushed out. The next second, Bupa's figure appeared like a streamer in the area where Beerus was. Without the slightest hesitation, Bupa punched out and smashed directly into Beerus' belly. Not good. When a crisis hit, Beerus sensed it for the first time. Immediately afterwards, he was not hesitating, and his entire figure suddenly dodged to the side. But although he reacted immediately, he couldn't completely avoid it. With a bang, Beerus was shot and flew out. After his body stabilized, a smear of blood spilled out from the corner of his mouth, and he looked at Bupa with a look of astonishment in his eyes. It worked. Beerus is injured. Seeing this situation, Son Goku and others outside the enchantment all exclaimed. For a split second, they could see that Beerus was injured. Even under such circumstances, they could clearly feel that Beerus was not in a good state. Even Bupa has the advantage of the Jedi, and it's not all about it. Injured. It really hurts. Reaching out and touching the area of his chest, Beerus' face turned gloomy at this moment. By now, he has also realized that he seems to have underestimated Bupa. Judging from the current situation, this matter definitely exceeded his expectations. For a time, Beerus' entire body's breathing became extremely cold at this moment. In the next second, Beerus stepped out of his body with a purple-black chi that appeared, and the whole person suddenly attacked Bupa, exclaiming, happy. 99. Since that's the case, I haven't felt the blood boil for a long time. Bupa, go all out and let me see where your limits are. While speaking, Beerus suddenly appeared in the area where Bupa was, and punched directly into Bupa's face. So fast. 35. His pupils shrank, and Bupa's expression changed slightly. Although the battle strength between the two sides was doubled, Bupa could clearly feel that Beerus at the moment seemed to be stronger again. Although he doesn't know how much he has become stronger, he can clearly feel the seriousness of this matter. Raising his hand, Bupa blocked Beerus' fist directly. With a bang, the figures of Bupa and Beerus separated. The next second, Bupa could clearly feel a burning pain in his arm. Under such circumstances, Bupa's expression also became a little serious. Looking up at the area where Beerus was, Bupa said with a solemn expression, Beerus, you didn't use all your strength. Full force. Hearing this, Beerus grinned, his eyes locked on Bupa and said, Bupa, don't underestimate any gods of destruction. The power of gods of destruction is not comparable to yours. Saiyan can transform into a promotion form with Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan Dark Blue, etc. 99. Then why is the form of gods of destruction always like this? 35. Or is it that the power you recognize as the form of gods of destruction is really not as good as your Saiyan? 35. Don't forget that the power of God is absolute. No matter how powerful Saiyan was in ancient times, he had to submit to God. 99. Saying that, Beerus stepped out abruptly. Rumbling. The space burst, and the purple-black destructive energy rushed towards Beerus's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, Beerus' body could clearly be seen changing rapidly, from a thin appearance to a strong state. Under such circumstances, it can be clearly felt that Beerus' power has increased by 10 times again, and his own combat power has also increased from 600 poles to 6,000 poles. After all this was done, Beerus looked furiously at Bupa and said, "This is the second-order form of gods of destruction that I developed, and I call it the extreme form of gods of destruction." Chapter 285 Ultra Instinct vs Ultra Instinct. Add extremely gods of destruction form. An advanced version of the gods of destruction form, and with a Super Saiyan blue look that's 10 times larger than before. 55. Opening his mouth, Son Goku's eyes were full of astonishment and disbelief. Everyone was stunned by Beerus' ability at this moment, and even their eyes were full of incredible colors. The form of gods of destruction is already outrageous, and now this form of gods of destruction can still be promoted. Thinking of this, everyone's breathing became serious. Originally thought that Bupa would be able to take this opportunity to defeat Beerus, but he didn't expect Beerus to display the extreme form of gods of destruction now. Under such circumstances, the gap between the two sides has resurfaced directly. Even if Bupa goes all out to Kaioken, but at most it reaches 4,800 poles, while Beerus's is 6,000 poles, there is still a huge gap between the two sides. Good guy. 35. Beerus is a completely different person when he transforms. 35. This extreme form of gods of destruction is simply outrageous, and it has become so much stronger all at once. Broly, Boluolian and the others were also full of helplessness at the moment. I thought it was stable, but he didn't expect Beerus to hide his hand. Even if Bupa and Ultra Instinct are not used, Beerus will do it. Thinking of this, Broly, Son Goku and Bluolian clenched their fists subconsciously. 210. To be honest, they would have preferred Bupa to win. But from the current situation, the 1,200 pole difference in combat power is really too big. As expected of you, Beerus. 35. Looking at the sturdy Beerus in front of him, there was a hint of surprise in Bupa's eyes, and then he said, "You can actually develop in the form of gods of destruction." Add, "I really underestimated you." Indeed, Bupa at this moment was surprised. After all, he hadn't seen the record of the entire pole gods of destruction form when he was far behind Beerus information. But now that Beerus is on display, it really caught him off guard. But precisely because of this, Bupa's fighting spirit also soared to the extreme at this moment. Ha! With a loud shout, Bupa immediately activated the Kaioken 100-fold. In an instant, his combat power soared to a level of 4,800 poles. After all this was done, Bupa raised his head and said, "Beerus, battle." After speaking, Bupa rushed out and attacked the area where Beerus was. "It's good to come." Seeing this situation, Beerus was not afraid at all, and he rushed out to fight with Bupa. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The deafening roar resounded, and the battle between Bupa and Beerus completely entered the white-hot stage. At this moment, the world shook, and countless forces swept out frantically. In just a dozen or so breaths, the two figures fought hundreds of moves. Although there is a gap of 1,200 poles in combat power, the battle between Bupa and Beerus does not show a one-sided trend. Even in such a situation, Bupa got more and more courageous in the situation where he fought. In a short period of time, Bupa's combat power has increased by dozens of poles, but it still can't change the gap between the two sides. As time passed, Bupa was obviously at a disadvantage as a whole, and even Beerus became more adept at mastering the form of gods of destruction under constant battles. This also led to the appearance of obvious injuries all over Bupa's body, and it looked extremely embarrassed with blood dripping. Not good. Big brother is in danger. 35. Master is no match for Beerus. 35. Seeing this situation, the expressions of Ace, Broly and others all changed. For the situation in front of them, they all felt depressed and uneasy in their hearts. After all, if Bupa fails, it will definitely be a blow to them. They all pinned all their hopes on Bupa. Under the current situation, Bupa is obviously a little bit difficult to compete with Beerus. Thinking of this, everyone's face became a little helpless. Even the eyes of each of them have a hint of unwillingness. At this moment, after all, Beerus can't be defeated, which means that the oppression of gods of destruction will still exist on them. It's really hard to do. As the battle continued to deepen, Bupa's complexion became extremely ugly. He could clearly feel that the power transmitted from the latter's body was somewhat unexpected. Even its own limits can no longer be broken, and it is obvious that there is no possibility of continuing to improve. So, in this case, if he wants to defeat Beerus, he can only use Ultra Instinct. But in that case, Beerus will also display Ultra Instinct, and the battle between the two will be in a difficult situation. But now, Bupa also understands that there is no need to continue to delay. After all, this matter cannot be accomplished overnight, and there are even many drawbacks. Thinking of this, Bupa didn't hesitate, and immediately launched Ultra Instinct. In the next second, The brilliance of silver was bright, and Bupa directly entered the state of Ultra Instinct. In an instant, Beerus' attacks were all avoided by him. At the same time, Bupa also took this opportunity to counterattack, and more than a dozen punches hit Beerus' body one after another. The screams resounded, and Beerus' face became extremely ugly at this moment. From the battle just now, he could already be sure that Bupa in front of him indeed mastered the complete Ultra Instinct. Especially the pain all over his body made him understand that if he didn't use Ultra Instinct, he would also fail. As soon as he thought of this, Beerus said immediately, "If that's the case, let's decide the winner with the utmost freedom." While speaking, Beerus no longer hesitated, and immediately activated Ultra Instinct. In the next second, a purple-silver radiance surrounded Beerus' body. Different from Bupa's silver appearance, Beerus' appearance at the moment is showing a purple-silver brilliance. Immediately afterwards, Beerus no longer hesitated, and attacked Bupa directly. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. A deafening roar resounded, and the two figures immediately fought together. For a time, the entire area began to collapse rapidly, and the two figures were fighting frantically in midair. It can be clearly seen that the battle between Bupa and Beerus has intensified, and even the strength of both sides has become more and more terrifying at this moment. Coming, the final duel. Seeing this, Son Goku and the others from the outside world were all startled, and their eyes showed strong anticipation and nervousness. Chapter 286 The Twisted Battle Situation. Beerus admit defeat. In this case, time flies by quickly. It can be clearly seen that Bupa and Beerus are fighting more and more fiercely, and even the strength of both sides has become more and more sharp at this moment. The entire area within the enchantment has been completely reduced to ruins, and even the space has burst, making people feel a strong sense of unease. However, under such circumstances, Bupa was also surprised to find that Beerus couldn't help himself. It's not the difference in his own combat power, but the latter's mastery of Ultra Instinct is not as good as his. This also caused Bupa, who was still suppressed by Beerus, to suddenly turn the tide of the battle. Even in such a situation, Bupa can clearly feel that his advantages are constantly increasing. Even under such circumstances, many things were unexpected, and even made him a little unbelievable. Not right. It's so wrong. This scene was directly noticed by Son Goku and others from the outside world. Looking at the battle situation that was obviously reversed in the arena, everyone's eyes were full of disbelief. Although they expected Bupa to win, they also knew that the possibility of such a victory was slim. But what about now? All this has changed so much, and Beerus, who had an absolute advantage before, was actually at a disadvantage. Even under such circumstances, the power of the two sides is still in a stalemate, which is simply incredible and unbelievable. Whis, seeing that the changes in the arena became more and more intense, and even Bupa had begun to gradually gain the upper hand, Boluolian couldn't help but asked, "What's going on? Why did my eldest brother's power surpass Beerus so much all of a sudden?" And as things stand, my eldest brother seems to have a pretty good shot at beating Beerus. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes also turned to Whis. The changes in this battle situation are really too big, and it really makes them a little incredible. Simple. With an indifferent smile, Whis raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Because Mr. Bupa's Ultra Instinct practice is stronger than that of Mr. Beerus. Ultra Instinct is a special skill, which can be regarded as a martial skill for you to cultivate, and it is also divided into high and low strengths. 35. If this Ultra Instinct is divided into 10%, the current Beerus-sama is at 10%, and Mr. Bupa is at 30%. It also caused Lord Beerus's instinct to be completely unable to keep up with Mr. Bupa, which resulted in his Ultra Instinct blessings being unmatched." I see. Hearing this, Son Goku and the others were enlightened and immediately understood why Bupa had the upper hand now. It turns out that Ultra Instinct also has strengths and weaknesses. No wonder Bupa was able to turn a defeat into a victory and even suppress Beerus in turn. Damn it. This is impossible. At this moment, Beerus' mentality exploded. He looked at the situation in disbelief and couldn't believe that his Ultra Instinct was no match for Bupa. Beerus, nothing is impossible. In this regard, Bupa has calmed down at the moment, looking at the corner of Beerus's mouth and drawing a playful smile. It seems that although your Ultra Instinct is complete, your mastery is not as good as mine. And your Ultra Instinct should have no omen of freedom, so it is full of aggression. In a sense, your Ultra Instinct is stronger. After all, you focus on attacking, which is a huge increase in your combat power. 99. But I have practiced the ultimate sign of freedom before this, so my power is an extremely balanced development. It also led to my Ultra Instinct being a level higher than yours directly after being thoroughly refined. While speaking, Bupa suddenly appeared in the area beside Beerus. The next second, Bupa punched and Beerus' Ultra Instinct was hit before he could even react. With a muffled groan, Beerus' figure fell from the sky, smashed to the ground, and a smear of blood spurted out from the corner of his mouth. After he stabilized, Beerus stared at Bupa, reluctant to admit it, but that seemed to be the case. Thinking of this, Beerus clenched his fists subconsciously, and his eyes were full of unwillingness, but he did not continue to attack. He has also seen that, in such a situation, He is already weaker than Bupa. Zero flowers. This also means that if he continues to fight against it, there will be no chance of winning, and it will even bring himself into a state of shame. Damn it. 99. Why this guy's ultra instinct is stronger than mine. The ultimate sign of freedom. That thing actually has such an effect. For a while, Beerus' face changed, looked at Bupa who was about to move, and gritted his teeth suddenly. Enough. The fight ends here. If you and I continue to fight, it will be too late for the gambling fight between the 6th universe and the 7th universe. After speaking, Beerus turned his head to look at the outside area and said, Whis, open the barrier and let me out. 39. Okay, Lord Beerus. Hearing this, Whis smiled slightly, took a deep look at Beerus, and immediately waved his hand to open the barrier. Seeing this, Son Goku and the others were a little dumbfounded at the moment. Unexpectedly, this matter has undergone such a big change. First Bupa nearly lost, and then Beerus lost in the Ultra Instinct match. The most important thing is that the current Beerus actually chose to admit defeat. Although there are excuses, they can all see that Beerus must be admitting defeat in this matter. Otherwise, if the battle continues, the loser will definitely be Beerus. Don't fight. Seeing this, Bupa breathed a sigh of relief at the moment. After taking a deep look at Beerus, the thoughts of Ultra Instinct, Kaioken, Quan Ultra Mode, Ultra 4 and Furious State transformed. The next second, Bupa only felt a pain in his chest. Immediately afterwards, a smear of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Obviously, he was also injured in the battle just now, and his injuries were not minor. If he continued to fight, even if he could defeat Beerus, he would still be seriously injured and could not even recover in a short period of time. Big brother, Master Bupa. Seeing this situation, Broly and the others exclaimed and quickly followed to the area where Bupa was located. Chapter 287. The End of the War. The Blind Champa. Brother, how do you feel? The first time he came to Bupa's side, Broly reached out to help him up, and asked with a worried look. No problem. With an indifferent smile, Bupa waved his hand and said immediately, I can't hold on for long. 35. Beerus is worthy of being the gods of destruction. It seems that I need to practice for a while if I want to completely defeat you. As soon as these words came out, Beerus, who was not far away, looked a lot better. He can also see that Bupa's current situation is not good, and he should also be injured. But to lose is to lose. Beerus himself knew very well that he had completely given up before. It can be said that he has been a little timid. This also means that no matter what Bupa's situation is, at least his current situation does not have the possibility of fighting again. Thinking of 210 coming here, Beerus took a deep look at Bupa, then turned to look at Whis and said, Whis, is that freedom sign really so important? 35. At this moment, Beerus's inner mood was not very good. After all, both of them are full versions of Ultra Instinct. But now they are divided into strong and weak, and even he is not Bupa's opponent, which makes it difficult for him to accept. Yes, Lord Beerus. Nodding his head, Whis said immediately, I told Lord Beerus before that this is one of the foundations of Ultra Instinct. It's just that Beerus was in high spirits back then and thought that he could complete Ultra Instinct directly without practicing it. The fact also proves Beerus-sama's confidence. You have completed Ultra Instinct without the omen of cultivating freedom. Hearing this, the corners of Beerus' mouth twitched. Now he can't wait to catch Whis and hang him. Is this what people should say? Don't you say words like this to kill people? Thinking of the gap between himself and Bupa before, Beerus said with a livid face, Whis, can I still practice now? No way. Shaking his head, Whis said indifferently, if it was before, Lord Beerus can still cultivate. 39. But now Lord Beerus has completed the practice of Ultra Instinct, unless Lord Beerus can abolish the current Ultra Instinct, otherwise it is impossible to cultivate the ultimate sign of freedom. But Lord Beerus doesn't need to worry about anything. Although this matter is a bit troublesome, with Lord Beerus' talent, as long as you work hard for a while, you can cultivate Ultra Instinct to a higher level. Hearing this, Beerus pouted. Although not reconciled, but now he also understands that he seems to have no choice. Glancing at Whis helplessly, Beerus then said, if that's the case, then forget it. Whis, get ready, it's time for us to go to the game. Yes, Lord Beerus. Nodding, Whis understood the seriousness of the matter. After pondering for a while, Whis said, but Lord Beerus, don't you need to repair your injury now? 5. It has to be that Beerus is not in a good state at the moment. Under the attack of Bupa before, Beerus himself suffered heavy damage, and it can be said that there is no good result. Of course yes. Nodding his head, Beerus said without hesitation at the moment, hurry up and act. Help me heal my wounds. It is good. With a promise, Whis no longer hesitated, waving the scepter and began to treat Beerus. In just a few breaths, it was clear that Beerus' injury had recovered as before. After doing all this, Whis turned his eyes to Bupa and said, Mr. Bupa, do you need me to help you heal? No need. With a wave of his hand, Bupa has stabilized his condition at this moment. After looking at Whis, he immediately took out a fairy bean and swallowed it in his stomach. After the fairy beans were swallowed, Bupa soon returned to normal. After all this was done, Bupa looked at Whis and said, "Whis, thank you for your guidance during this time. If it wasn't for your guidance, I wouldn't have completed Ultra Instinct so quickly." Indeed, Bupa wouldn't have been able to do it so quickly if it wasn't for Whis' guidance. The main thing is that Whis' pointing is not something that carries can match. Although carries' strength is also good, but it also has some drawbacks. 0. The most important thing is that Kali's advice to Bupa is just casual words, and more is to let him practice on his own. But Whis' guidance is like a crash course, and it's still the kind that has a great effect. Mr. Bupa is very kind. With a nonchalant smile, Whis did not reject Bupa's thanks. After all, this Ultra Instinct wasn't under his guidance, and it was impossible for him to cultivate successfully. However, Whis didn't want to waste time on this matter, and immediately said, "If that's the case, then let's go." 5. The people from the 6th universe should have arrived, and we are just starting now. 95. After speaking, Whis waved his hand, and a 7-colored light fell from the sky and immediately covered their bodies. In an instant, the 7-color brilliance and Bupa and the others hurriedly left the original area. "Vados, are you ready?" 35. On a planet, Champa said impatiently. "Lord Champa." Hearing this, Vados glanced at Champa angrily, and then said, "It has already been built." "But Lord Champa, are you really sure you want to get to this point?" "The hardness of this planet has been hardened by me to the point where it can withstand the battle of gods of destruction. If it continues to strengthen, it is completely meaningless." Cut. Hearing this, Champa pouted, then said impatiently, "Of course there must be. Isn't he Beerus getting stronger?" "Since this is the case, then I will also let him see the ability of my cultivation during this period of time. After the game, the Beerus guy will be furious, and then I can teach him a lesson." Speaking of which, Champa seemed to have foreseen the scene where he defeated Beerus, and he couldn't help but laugh. Seeing this situation, everyone in the arena pouted. "That's it. This is gods of destruction." But apart from Vados, Kaya and the others didn't dare to say anything rashly. After all, Champa is the gods of destruction, and the power of the latter is indeed not to be underestimated, and it is not even something they can compete with now. Chapter 288. The Two-Universe Competition. Vados. After a while, Champa seemed to think of something, and then looked at Vados and said, "Have you found the last wishing bead?" "That thing is about the prize after my victory. I want to make a wish in front of Beerus, which will make him even more embarrassed." 35. Hearing this, Vados' eyes flashed, and he looked at where Champa was, and immediately said, "Reporting to Lord Champa, we have found the last trace of the wishing beads. Just outside the area not far from our game, the wishing beads are in the shape of a planet. If necessary, you can bring them directly." Hearing this, Champa nodded with satisfaction. The last wishing bead was found, which meant that his purpose was completely accomplished. Thinking of this, Champa immediately said, "Vados, prepare for me immediately. Bring the wishing beads, and then I will make a wish directly." "Yes, Lord Champa." With a promise, a hint of helplessness flashed in Vados' eyes, and then he no longer hesitated. With the scepter in her hand waving, it can be seen that a planet in the universe in the distance was directly dragged over 20 times. Soon, the planet appeared outside the planet area where they were located. After all this was done, Vados waved his hand, the planet began to disintegrate, and the golden brilliance this time, the Super Dragon Ball figure appeared in the area of the field. "That's Super Dragon Ball?" "That's the wishing beads that the gods of destruction wanted." On the ground, Kaya and the others raised their heads subconsciously to look at the planet in midair, and their eyes were full of astonishment and surprise at the moment. There is no Shenron in the 6th universe, so they all know the existence of Shenron. But at this moment, when they saw the huge wishing bead like a planet, they also understood in their hearts how great the value of this thing was. Thinking of this, Califra said subconsciously, "Lord Champa, can this wishing bead really fulfill any wish?" As soon as these words came out, Kaya and others also looked at where Champa was, and their eyes were full of anticipation. "Certainly." Nodding proudly, Champa said excitedly, "This is the most powerful wishing bead in the universe." 39. Once you use it to summon a Super Shenron, everything can come true. As long as I can use it, then I can even make myself more powerful. Speaking of this, Champa's eyes flashed with heat. Before that, what he cared more about was food. But now it is believed that the Earth of the 7th universe must belong to itself. Without the desire for food, Champa hopes to further his own strength. Although I don't know why Beerus chose to become stronger, he will not let up, nor will he admit that he will lose to Beerus. But he also understood that even if he succeeded in the secret technique, he still had little confidence that he would be able to defeat Beerus. So, in such a situation, Super Dragon Ball is one of the shortcuts for him to become stronger. Really? Any wish? 66.99. On the contrary, the expressions of Kaya and the others at the moment are somewhat volatile. After all, as Champa said, the value of this Super Dragon Ball is huge. Even call out, call out. At this moment, the sound of breaking the air resounded. Looking at the reputation, You can clearly see that there are colorful beams coming from across the universe. Soon, 7 color beams appeared on the planet. The next second, the figures of Beerus, Whis, Bupa and others appeared in the area of the arena. Add Master Bupa, husband 6699. The moment Bupa appeared, Cal, Gale, Caulifla and Gabe in the 6th universe all stood up abruptly, their eyes filled with wonder and surprise. Immediately afterwards, the 4 no longer hesitated, and quickly came to the area where Bupa was. Master Bupa, bowing and saluting, Cal and Gabe looked at Bupa with admiration, their eyes filled with respect. 35. Nodding, Bupa glanced at Cal and Gabe, and then secretly said, "System, check the information of the 2." In the next second, the information of the 2 of Gabe appeared in front of him. Cal, race, Saiyan, bloodline, superior bloodline, combat strength, 500 Gai, transformation, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan rose red. Gabe, race, Saiyan, bloodline, superior bloodline, combat strength, 2000 Gai, transformation, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan rose red. Loyalty, 97, 500 Gai base combat power. Add 2000 Gai base combat power. Good guy. Gabe and Cal have improved tremendously during this period of time. After reading the information of the 2, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of surprise. In addition to the improvement of the basic combat power, what made him feel even more incredible was the transformation of the super race god Rose Red. Not surprisingly, it should be a transformation similar to Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan Pink. It's just caused by the difference in the power and origin that the 6th universe Saiyan cultivates. But there is no doubt that under such circumstances, the combat power of Gabe and Cal 210 is extremely terrifying, even in a sense not inferior to the current Son Goku and Vegeta. Husband, 39. At this time, Kaya and Caulifla walked to the area where Bupa was, and their eyes were full of excitement. Husband, are you Saiyan from the 7th universe? Husband, are you from the 7th universe? At this moment, the 2 girls were extremely happy. After all, I thought I wouldn't be able to see Bupa in a short time, but I didn't expect to see him again not long after that. I'm not Saiyan from the 7th universe. With an indifferent smile, Bupa looked at Caulifla and Gale, who had obviously grown up in front of him, and a look of satisfaction flashed in his eyes at this moment. Although Caulifla and Gale looked youthful and beautiful before, they are truly grown up now. With a height of about 1 meter 7 or 8, combined with the proud figure of the 2 daughters, she is completely the style of Yuji. On the contrary, when he subdued them in the 6th universe before, whether it was Caulifla or Kaya, it was more of a Lily's appearance. Thinking of this, Bupa stretched out his hand and took the second daughter into his arms, and then said, "No matter what, I came to watch the game with the 7th universe. Next is your battle. I look forward to your performance." Chapter 289 Intrigue Beerus and Champa. Add. Okay, don't worry, husband, we will definitely win. Hearing this, Caulifla and Cal answered confidently. Originally, they didn't care much about this match between the 6th universe and the 7th universe, but now that Bupa is also here, Caulifla and the others are also determined to perform well and let Bupa see their improvement during this time. Wow, Lord Bupa is actually with Saiyan from the 6th universe. Two female Saiyans actually became the wives of Lord Bupa. Good guy. These 2 female Saiyans are not weak either. You can feel a strong sense of oppression from both of them. As expected of a woman of Lord Bupa, in front of no one is a vase. Son Goku and others are also talking about it at the moment. Seeing Bupa sitting alone with the 2 daughters, envy and yearning appeared in their eyes. Especially Son Goku. He never imagined that he could still do such a thing. You know, he lives on Earth with monogamy. What's the situation? Vados, those Saiyans defected? On the contrary, the expression on Champa's face in midair instantly turned ugly. Champa felt bad, and even vaguely a little uneasy, that the 4 of them had such respect for Bupa. Don't worry, Lord Champa. Seeing this, Vados smiled slightly, gave Bupa a deep look, and then said, "This should be the Saiyan who taught the 6th universe Saiyan's transformation ability." Add. Gabe is his subordinate, Caulifla and Kaya are his wives, so naturally they should be more intimate. As for Cal, he is Saiyan after all, and he is naturally highly respected by Bupa's favor. Hearing this, Champa's expression suddenly changed. The guy who taught the 6th universe Saiyan transformation is actually Bupa in front of him. This was really something he didn't expect. And according to the current situation, if Bupa is a contestant of the 7th universe, doesn't it mean that no one on his side will make a shot except Hitt? Damn it. Where did Beerus recruit people? Cursing inwardly, Champa said subconsciously, "Vados, that guy named Bupa won't participate in the competition, right? Will he help Beerus? And if he helps Beerus, that's not good." 35. Don't worry, Champa-sama. Hearing this, Vados glanced at Champa in surprise, and Time said, "Mr. Bupa is not from the 7th universe, and it is impossible for Lord Beerus to let him help out." But Lord Champa, if you look at the people next to Lord Beerus, they don't seem to be anything to mess with. Hearing this, Champa twitched the corners of his mouth and looked at Son Goku and the others subconsciously, feeling that they were not weak. But soon, Champa calmed down, shrugged and said, as long as Bupa didn't shoot it himself, my sixth universe would still win. 5. Come on, Vados, we're going to meet the Beerus guy. Yes, Lord Champa. With a promise, Vados immediately followed Champa toward the field. What's the situation? Saiyan of the sixth universe? Champa's subordinates are all Saiyans. At the same time, Beerus' eyes also focused on the four of them. Beerus could also vaguely feel the power of the four. It was because of this that Beerus felt a little uneasy. Saiyan of sixth universe. When Bupa went to the sixth universe before, he taught him how to transform. That also means that the four Saiyans in front of them are probably not inferior to Son Goku and others. This isn't good news for Beerus, it's even hugely bad news. Don't worry, Lord Beerus. Seeing this situation, Whis smiled indifferently, looked at Kaya and the others and said, Master Beerus must have confidence in Son Goku and others on our side. After cultivating for so long, it shouldn't be something that the sixth universe Saiyan can overcome. And don't forget the previous agreement with Bupa. Under such circumstances, it is not impossible for Mr. Bupa to directly make Saiyan of the sixth universe admit defeat. What? Hearing this, Beerus' eyes suddenly lit up. If that's the case, then this is definitely good news. After all, if there is no threat from these four Saiyans, there will only be one person under Champa, who cannot be the opponent of Son Goku and others. Beerus. At this time, Champa came in a hurry. When he arrived at the area where Beerus was, Champa said excitedly, are you ready to lose the game? After you lose, the Earth of the seventh universe belongs to me. By that time, the food on Earth in the seventh universe will also belong to me. Cut. Hearing this, Beerus pouted, followed with a look at Champa, and then said, Champa, where are you daydreaming less? The winner will definitely be my seventh universe, and your sixth universe contestant will definitely lose. But how are you prepared, if you lose? The Super Dragon Ball promised to me is available. Hearing this, Champa snorted coldly, feeling extremely annoyed at Beerus' mockery. But now, Champa didn't care what he was arguing with Beerus, and immediately waved his hand. Vados, take something out to open their eyes. 95. Yes, Lord Champa. As soon as she agreed, Vados was no longer suspicious, and as she waved the scepter in her hand, it could be seen that the Super Dragon Ball that had been collected together appeared directly in the universe within the planet. After doing all this, Vados looked at Whis and said, these are the 7 super wishing beads in the 6th and 7th universes. As long as he is awakened by the word of God, he will then summon a Super Shenron to fulfill all wishes. Hearing this, Beerus nodded. At the same time, the eyes of Bupa and others were also attracted by Super Dragon Ball. For a time, Son Goku, Ace and others couldn't help but exclaimed, is that the Super Dragon Ball? It's as huge as a planet. It's unbelievable. 6635. After all, compared to Earth Dragon Ball and Namek Dragon Ball, such a Super Dragon Ball is way too big. Each one is the size of a planet, which is simply incredible, even unimaginable for them. Chapter 290 Super Race God Green, 6th Universe Ace. Especially Son Goku. At this moment, his gaze towards those Super Dragon Balls was extremely hot. For nothing else, the value of this thing is too great, and it can even help him improve the suppression blood in his body. Once the suppression bloodline is improved, his strength will be increased by at least 10 times. This is not a temptation that anyone can ignore. Husband. At this time, Califra and Gale looked at Bupa subconsciously and asked, are you here to watch the battle this time for the Super Dragon Ball? Good. Nodding his head, Bupa glanced at Califra and Kyle, and then said, my goal is indeed the Super Dragon Ball. But you don't need to worry about anything, and you don't need to do anything. You just have to do your best in the next battle, and if you win, then I'll grab it from Champa. What? Robbery Champa? Hearing this, Califla and Kai were stunned. Looking at Bupa in disbelief, his heart was full of shock. Champa, that's gods of destruction. Bupa actually wants to rob him, which is really audacious. Subconsciously, Kaya then opened his mouth and said, husband is not allowed. Lord Champa is the gods of destruction. If you rashly take action against him, you may have a life-threatening situation. At this moment, Kul was extremely worried about Bupa's safety. If he really did this, the consequences would be absolutely unimaginable if something went wrong. No need to worry. With an indifferent smile, Bupa reached out and scratched Kul's nose, and then said, it's just that Champa is not my opponent. If it was Beerus, I might be afraid of 3 points, but Champa is not enough to make me afraid. 9. But how was your cultivation during this time? Having said that, Bupa's eyes were locked on Califla, and he secretly said in his heart, system, check the information of Califla. In the next second, the information of Califla appeared in front of his eyes. Califla, race, Saiyan, bloodline, royal bloodline, combat strength, 8 transformation, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan rose red, loyalty, 1 Kul, race, Saiyan, bloodline, intermediate transcendent bloodline, strength, 3 0 Transformation, Anger, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Quan Super Mode, Super Saiyan Green. Loyalty, 100, 80, 30, 99. Good guy. The basic combat power of Cauliflower and Kale has improved so quickly to the point of being interrupted all of a sudden. It seems that Champa really put in a lot of effort to win. After reading the messages of the two girls, a flash of surprise flashed in Bupa's eyes, especially the Kel information. Super Saiyan Green. Another brand new Super Saiyan transformation has appeared, and it seems that it is a combination of Saiyan and Quan Jiao, which is intriguing. Can Jiaoshan and Quan Jiao be combined? This kind of power, is it possible that you, Boluolian can also cultivate? We've all gotten a lot stronger. 99. With a slight smile, Cauliflower and Kale said proudly, in the dimension of Vados, we have improved a lot, and even the basic combat power has exceeded the limit when the husband left. 5. By the way, husband, we have also learned the further super game transformation, as well as the power of gods of destruction. However, we did not choose to be the alternative gods of destruction, otherwise, the strength will be even stronger. The Hitt guy has completed the form of gods of destruction under the guidance of Vados, and the enhanced power seems to be no less than that of Super Saiyan. 5. I knew that I would be able to learn this kind of ability after becoming a candidate for gods of destruction, so I wouldn't let me out. After listening to the story of the two girls, Bupa's eyes showed a hint of horror. He knew about the further transformation of Jiaoshan, but Champa actually taught them the power of gods of destruction, and even made Hitt a candidate for gods of destruction, which was really unexpected. Most importantly, Hitt actually learned the form of gods of destruction. This also means that Hitt's power will be more powerful and terrifying than the original. Even in a sense, Son Goku and others are probably not his opponents. After all, Hitt's time flash skill is extremely terrifying, and even after strengthening his own strength, Hitt's time flash art is likely to last longer. Under such circumstances, if you are a little careless, Son Goku and others may fail, or even Beerus. Are you going to send those 5 people out this time? At the other end of the area, Champa quietly asked. He glanced at Bupa and others, and he could feel a faint crisis from Bupa's body. Not only him, but even Broly made him feel a little depressed. So, under such circumstances, Champa was quite worried. If Beerus lets Bupa and others take action, the consequences will be unimaginable, and even the 6th universe is likely to fail. Why, I'm afraid. Seeing Champa's reaction, Beerus' eyes showed a hint of playfulness, and then he said, but don't worry, Bupa and Broly are not from our 7th universe, and I won't let them play for the 7th universe. 99. Our contestants this time are Son Goku, Vegeta, Son Goku, Azza and Boluolian. At this moment, Beerus gave up Frieza directly. Although his strength is not bad, after seeing Hitt, Kale and others, Beerus vaguely felt that Frieza's strength was insufficient. So in such a situation, he did not intend to let Frieza play. After all, if he failed, the consequences would be disastrous. Yes, the corners of his mouth rose. Champa glanced at Son Goku and the others subconsciously, and the whole person breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. Immediately afterwards, Champa said, in that case, let's start. Beerus. The ring is ready. This time I will convince you of losing. Hearing this, Beerus smiled. For Champa is full of confidence. He is not full of confidence. Even if Bupa and Broly can't compete, but with the strength of the 7th universe's current Son Goku and others, he really doesn't know how to lose. Thinking of this, Beerus didn't intend to waste time, and immediately said, if that's the case, let's start. Champa, just wait and fail. Saying that, Beerus glanced at Whis and Vados subconsciously. He vaguely felt that this matter was promoted by the two behind the scenes, and it had something to do with Bupa, but he didn't know what was going on. Chapter 291. The game begins. Chao vs Vegeta. But as of now, Beerus is not easy to ask anything. After all, he has generally known about this matter, and even he is one of the participants. Under such circumstances, if he dared to say nonsense, or even prevent anything, the consequences would be disastrous. Beerus doesn't see himself as a match for Whis and Vados, especially now that Bupa's strength is not inferior to him. Under such circumstances, if he dares to mess around, he will definitely die. Humphrey. With a cold snort, Champa disagreed with Beerus' words. He didn't think his 6th universe would fail. After all, he is very aware of how strong Kale and others are now. Even if the contestants of the 7th universe are not weak against it, but without the addition of Bupa and Broly, there will be no threat. Thinking of this, Champa said immediately, Beerus, let's start now, let's do it now. 35. I can't wait to see your face after your failure. Hearing this, Beerus glanced at Champa. Since the latter is aggressive, he can't care so much anymore. Compared with the thoughts and goals of Whis and others, his main thing now is to defeat Champa and let him know what the end of provoking himself is. As soon as he thought of this, Beerus immediately said, so, let's start. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the field suddenly became tense. Not only the people in the 6th universe, But everyone in the 7th universe also became serious. Although the previous conversation made everyone extremely comfortable, but now, everyone must be the first to complete the battle. Thinking of this, Kaya and the others looked at Bupa, and although they were reluctant, they did not continue to stay. Husband, let's go first. 99. Lord Bupa, we're going one step ahead. While talking, the four of Kaya no longer hesitated, turned around and walked towards the area where Champa was in the distance. After all, it's a battle between two universes, and it's really not good for them to stand together like this. Everyone. 35. Seeing this, Bupa's eyes flashed, and he stepped forward and said, Beerus, Champa, why don't you let me be the referee? Seeing Bupa, Beerus frowned. But he didn't refuse anything. After all, Bupa was indeed a good choice. Thinking of this, Beerus immediately said, I have no opinion. Wait a moment. At this time, Champa looked at Bupa subconsciously and asked, if you want to be a referee, will you be biased towards the 6th universe? Although Vados and Beerus have confirmed before that Bupa does not belong to the 7th universe. But after all, he came with Whis and others, which made Champa a little worried. Of course not. 35. Looking at Champa, Bupa said indifferently, although I am here to be the referee, my impartiality is beyond doubt. And compared to my existence, you can also see how the battle situation is in the area outside the field. If I am biased towards someone, you can also see it. Could it be that you, Champa, as gods of destruction, don't even have the most basic eyesight? If that's the case, then you can choose another judge. 39. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the arena smiled slightly. Champa questioned his impartiality, and Bupa questioned the latter's judgment. But the tit-for-tat between the two gives the impression that Champa is inferior. Humphrey, with a cold snort, Champa resisted the anger in his heart and gave Bupa a deep look, then said, if that's the case, then I'll leave this matter to you. 35. Saiyan, don't think that if you have a little power, you can be unscrupulous. Gods of destruction is not something you can provoke. This time, gods of destruction will forgive you in the face of Kaya and others. As soon as these words came out, Beerus and the others suddenly looked at Champa strangely. Forgive Bupa? Not even Beerus could say such words. After all, the battle between the two sides ended in the defeat of Beerus, even if the two sides were not equal. But it is not something that Champa can compare to. Saying such words is really a burst of self-confidence. Good. 35. However, Bupa didn't mean to argue with Champa, and shrugged indifferently, if that's the case, let's start the game. 0 flowers. After all, we've all been waiting for a long time. After speaking, Bupa no longer hesitated, and jumped into the arena. After floating to the ground, Bupa looked at Champa and Beerus and said, Beerus, Champa, you can start. Send the first contestant under your command. Hearing this, Champa and Beerus looked at each other. In the next second, a fighting spirit emerged from the bodies of the two of them. Immediately afterwards, the two no longer hesitated, and immediately said, Cal, you go up first. Vegeta, you go up first. Almost instantly, Beerus and Champa made their judgments. They also subconsciously chose the weakest player on both sides, in order to ensure the strength of the other side. Yes, Lord Champa. 35. As soon as he agreed, Carl didn't dare to neglect. He saluted Champa and jumped to the ring. The Saiyan of the 6th universe. Seeing this, Vegeta's expression also sank slightly. He was also quite dissatisfied with being sent out first. After all, this behavior of the big head is just a tentative move in the end, and Beerus' choice of him is undoubtedly a distrust of himself. Thinking of this, Vegeta no longer hesitated, and immediately looked at Son Goku and the others and said, I will defeat them all. After that, Vegeta jumped and appeared on the battlefield. Seeing this situation, Son Goku and others were a little dumbfounded. Vegeta actually wants to destroy the other party, which is simply incredible. After all, they all know that the warriors of the 6th universe are not weak, let alone Vegeta, even they don't have much confidence. However, everyone didn't sneer at anything. After all, everyone knows what Vegeta's character is. After the two figures were standing on the ring, Carl clasped his fists at Bupa and said, Lord Bupa, I'm ready. Nodding, Bupa looked at Cal, then turned to look at Vegeta and said, how about you? 7. Chapter 292. Carl's strong suppression. The aggrieved Vegeta. Ready. Looking at Bupa, Vegeta replied proudly at the moment. After he finished speaking, his eyes turned to the area where Carl was, and he was quite concerned about Saiyan of the 6th universe. After all, from the current situation, the latter gave him a very difficult feeling. Very good. Seeing this, Bupa nodded in satisfaction. Immediately afterwards, he didn't know wasting time, so he waved his hand and said, if that's the case, then let's get started. 5. After speaking, Bupa no longer hesitated, and jumped into the edge area of the ring. Seeing this, Carl and Vegeta's expressions immediately became solemn. The battle begins. This is unacceptable failure for them. After looking at each other, Carl took the lead and said, Saiyan of the 7th universe, let's start 2-1-3. I don't need you to teach me what to do. With a cold snort, Vegeta's eyes showed a trace of disdain, and she raised her hand and countless Qui-Gon bullets attacked Carl. In the next second, Dense Qigong bullets covered the area where Cal was. Rumbling, rumbling, a deafening roar resounded, and you could clearly see the dust rising in the area where Cal was. However, the expressions of everyone present at the moment are also indifferent. Everyone could see that Vegeta's attack this time was just a tentative attack. After all, his attack had no deterrent effect. Unless the gap between the two sides is huge, otherwise the intensive Qigong bomb attack is meaningless. Call out. Not surprisingly, at this moment, a broken sound resounded. Immediately afterwards, Cal's figure could be seen jumping out of it, his eyes locked on Vegeta, and he said, "Not bad." 99. As expected of Saiyan from the 7th universe, there are indeed some differences. But this power alone is not my opponent. After speaking, Cal no longer hesitated, and immediately rushed out to attack Vegeta. Good come. Seeing this, Vegeta didn't test anything, and with a low roar, he went forward directly. In the next second, the two figures fought together in the ring. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The deafening roar resounded, and it was clear that the two figures were fighting together at this moment. The powers of the two were constantly fighting each other, and within just a dozen breaths, scars appeared on both Cal and Vegeta's bodies. But overall, Vegeta's situation is clearly not good. His basic combat power is not as good as Cal, which also caused him to fall into a disadvantage in such a confrontation. Not good. Vegeta fell behind. It's not good. Saiyan of the 6th universe is so powerful. Seeing this scene, Son Goku in the off-field area subconsciously opened his mouth. His face was serious and his brows furrowed, and he subconsciously clenched his fists. His strength is not much different from Vegeta, although there is still some gap. But Son Goku also understands that there is not much gap. But now Cal's power has also made him feel the crisis. Under such circumstances, Vegeta is likely to fail. Not good. Is the first battle going to fail like this? 66.99. Also frowning are Son Gohan and others. Although everyone can see that this is only the initial stage of the battle, from the strength of Vegeta's current performance, Vegeta is indeed at a disadvantage. In the case of these two. Damn. 99. In the ring, Vegeta roared, and was extremely angry at the things that he was suppressed. After all, in such a situation, they are well aware of the seriousness and consequences of the matter. He is the dignified Prince Saiyan. It would be a huge shame to fail here. For a time, Vegeta was burning with anger, and the whole person's emotions exploded at this moment. And his eyes glared at Cal. Damn, you completely angered me. 99. Now I'll show you what the real Super Saiyan is. Saying that, Vegeta stepped forward, clenching her fists and shouting, "Ha!" The next second, Vegeta immediately activated the Super Saiyan transformation. For a time, golden aura swept out, and Vegeta's combat power soared by 50 times. After doing all this, Vegeta jumped out and attacked Cal without hesitation. Does Super Saiyan transform? Seeing this, Cal's expression changed slightly. He is also quite apprehensive about the transformation of Super Saiyan, and he is more aware that the state after the transformation is completely two people. Thinking of this, Cal no longer hesitated, and immediately activated the Super Saiyan transformation as soon as his mind moved. With a low growl, Cal also followed Vegeta. In the next second, the two figures fought together again in midair. For a time, the roar continued to resound. It can be clearly seen that the battle between the two figures is getting more and more intense, and Vegeta's disadvantage is also becoming more and more intense. For nothing else, his basic combat power is weaker than Cal, and now under the same transformation, the gap between the two sides is getting bigger and bigger. Damn it. Damn. Feeling that her situation was not good, Vegeta couldn't help roaring. Never thought that things would turn out like this. Under such circumstances, he really couldn't do anything. For a time, Vegeta was furious, and with a loud shout, he directly entered the form of Super Saiyan 2. At this moment, Vegeta's strength doubled, and the whole person instantly suppressed Cal. Super Saiyan 2, I will too. However, this situation did not last long, and Cal grinned and immediately burst into a drink. The next second, Cal's aura became violent, and the lightning circled into Super Saiyan 2's transformation. 0.7 Immediately afterwards, Cal's power suppressed Vegeta again. Countless fist shadows swept out and immediately covered the area where Vegeta was. Bang bang bang. The deafening roar resounded, and Vegeta in the same Super Saiyan 2 form was directly suppressed. Even under absolute strength, Vegeta was beaten to the point of vomiting blood, and the whole person looked extremely bad. You bastard. The same Super Saiyan 2, actually stronger than me. Saiyan of the 6th universe, how can he reach such a level? In an instant, Vegeta's face was hideous, and the jealousy in his eyes grew to the extreme at this moment. Seeing Cal's fist attacking again, Vegeta roared and immediately transformed into a super ace god. Chapter 293 Angry Cal, Vegeta's swan song. Ha! With a low roar, Vegeta threw a punch, and directly knocked out Cal, who was caught off guard. After all this was done, Vegeta looked proudly at Cal and said, "This is the true strength of this prince." 39. Don't think that if you can transform into a Super 2 form, you can show off your power in front of me. With a bang, Cal's figure fell to the ground. After he slowly stood up, His eyes turned to Vegeta in astonishment at the moment. Super Ace God. Why don't you cast the Super 3 transformation first? Super Saiyan 3. Hearing this, Vegeta's complexion sank, and murderous intent appeared in his eyes at this moment. For nothing else, because he didn't complete the Super Saiyan 3 transformation. It can be said that Carl's words are absolutely murderous words for him. Resisting the anger in his heart, Vegeta said coldly, "So what about Super Saiyan 3? In front of the transformation of Chao Sai God, the so-called Chao-san is a joke. Before you were scoring 20 offenses. Now it's my turn. Now, accept your defeat." Saying that, Vegeta jumped out and attacked Carl. At this moment, he was determined to defeat it as soon as possible. After all, it's been a huge shame for Vegeta to have been deadlocked for so long. Beat me? If that's the case, then I can't do anything about it. However, Carl shook his head at the moment. Although Vegeta's current strength is good, but it is impossible to be his opponent. I was just surprised that Vegeta didn't transform into Super Saiyan 3 according to the routine, but now he is not absent. Without the slightest hesitation, Carl clenched his fists tightly and exclaimed, "Ha!" In the next second, the crimson brilliance shone brightly. Carl also completed the transformation of Super Saiyan God at this moment. At this moment, Vegeta's figure has appeared in the area in front of him. However, before Vegeta launched the attack, Carl took the preemptive strike and slammed a punch directly on Vegeta's face. What? With a scream, Vegeta was caught off guard and flew out, smashing her entire body to the ground and drawing dozens of meters away. Super Saiyan God. Saiyan of the 6th universe will also transform like this. It's not easy to handle, since Saiyan of the 6th universe will also be transformed into a Super Saiyan God. It means that it is difficult to compete. 66.99. Seeing this, the expressions of Son Goku and the others changed. For this sudden change, they all felt incredible. At the same time, they also vaguely felt something was wrong in their hearts at the moment. After all, in such a situation, once there is a problem, the consequences will definitely be extremely bad. Subconsciously, Son Goku and the others all clenched their fists subconsciously, looking at Carl with complex eyes. This 6th universe Saiyan can transform into a super race god. It should be taught by Bupa when he went to the 6th universe! If that's the case, does Saiyan in the 6th universe still exist in a transfiguration form that surpasses Super Saiyan? If it really exists in such a transformed form, then Vegeta is probably not really its opponent. 66.99. At this moment, everyone's faces changed, and their inner emotions were also suppressed, especially Vegeta in the ring. At this moment, he had already struggled to stand up. His eyes fixed on Carl, who was in the form of the Super Race God, and jealousy appeared in his eyes, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Damn, even the Super Race God has already learned." How much ability did that guy Bupa teach you when he went to the 6th universe? Hearing this, Carl frowned. It's not a good feeling for Vegeta to call Bupa by his first name. After all, Bupa is a godlike existence in the 6th universe, and countless people believe in it. Now that Vegeta dared to say such words to Bupa, a flash of anger flashed in Carl's eyes, and then he said, "How dare you speak rudely to Lord Bupa, Vegeta, you must lose today." Saying that, Carl stepped out abruptly, and the whole person rushed out like a streamer and attacked Vegeta directly. Almost instantly, Carl's figure appeared in the area where Vegeta was. Without the slightest hesitation, Carl's punch hit Vegeta's vital spot again. Not good. When the crisis struck, Vegeta's face changed greatly at this moment. He could clearly feel the strength of Carl's power under the current situation, and if he hit him, he would definitely be seriously injured. Not caring about anything else, Vegeta hurriedly dodged to the side. Bang, bang, the explosion resounded, and Carl's power then attacked the ground, and the entire arena shook at this moment. Fortunately, the entire planet has been reinforced by Vados, unless the power of the two reaches the stage of gods of destruction, otherwise it is really not enough to cause damage to the ring. But even so, Vegeta's situation is not good, and the whole person has completely fallen into the disadvantage. Even under Carl's continuous attacks, Vegeta's injuries began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, Vegeta was already scarred by Carl's attack. The whole constant dodging 213 dodges, dodging, and even counterattacks could not be done. Damn. You must underestimate me, Vegeta. Seeing that his situation was getting worse and worse, Vegeta couldn't help roaring at the moment. Immediately afterwards, Vegeta didn't hesitate, and slammed into Carl's fist with a sudden punch. With a loud bang, the silhouettes of Vegeta and Carl quickly separated, each retreating a distance of dozens of meters. After pulling a safe distance, Vegeta no longer hides and tucks at this moment, raised her head to look at Carl and said, "I didn't intend to expose it on your body. However, your strength has indeed reached the point where this prince cares about it. Since this is the case, then this prince will go all out to defeat you. Carl, let you see the transformation beyond Super Saiyan God." Ha! With a low roar, Vegeta burst into a drink, and the blue brilliance followed. In just an instant, Vegeta entered a super blue state. After completing the transformation, Vegeta reached out and wiped the blood stains on the corner of his mouth, then raised his head to look at Carl, who was not far away, and sneered, "How? This is the transformation beyond Super Saiyan God, which I call Super Saiyan God Blue." Chapter 294 Super Race God Rose Red vs Super Race God Blue. Add Super Saiyan Blue. Raising his brows, Carl looked at Vegeta with a strange expression. He could feel that this so-called Super Blue was actually almost the same as his own Rose Red. This also means that the transformation of the latter is almost the same as his own. If this is the case, then he will still be victorious, even without any obstacles. Thinking of this, Carl immediately opened his mouth and said, "Vegeta, if you are just like this, it is not enough to defeat me." Hearing this, Vegeta's face suddenly became ugly. Not for anything else, because he had already felt something was wrong. Calm. The latter is really too calm, and it is precisely because of this that he vaguely feels a trace of unease in his heart at this moment. Subconsciously, Vegeta said, "Did you also complete the transformation beyond Super Saiyan God?" After speaking, Vegeta looked a little nervous. To be honest, if the latter really has such power, then the possibility of his victory is really slim. Good. Nodding his head, Carl glanced at Vegeta, and he wasn't selling anything immediately. As he stepped forward, Carl's chi became violent. The next second, Carl's aura soared a lot at this moment, and the rose-red brilliance all over his body followed. "This is rose-red?" This scene immediately caused Son Goku and others outside the venue to subconsciously exclaim. Rose-red. Carl actually completed the transformation of Super Saiyan God Rose-red, which is really unexpected and even unbelievable. Add. The most important thing is that this rose-red form does not seem to be inferior to Super Blue, and even stronger than Super Blue in a sense by 3 points. For nothing else, the Super Blue form is a form that transforms based on the power of gods of destruction. But this Super Race God Rose-red is based on Super Race God, which also makes its own power more stable. In a sense, the combat power of the Super Blue form may be similar to that of Rose-red, but the continuous ability will definitely be much weaker. So amazing. Saiyan of the 6th universe has completed such a transformation. Super Saiyan Red, can I learn it when I wait? 6699. Subconsciously, Son Goku sighed, especially Son Gohan. His expression at the moment is extremely complicated. The Super Saiyan Tao Hong he practiced is very similar to the Super Saiyan Rose Red, except that one is Super Saiyan power, and the other is based on Supreme Kai power. It can be said that the current situation, the transformation of the 3 Saiyan forms, represents the limit of the 3 powers of God after fusion with Saiyan. Interesting. To be able to do this, I really didn't expect that this matter would have such a great benefit. Muttering in his mouth, Son Gohan's expression changed, and his heart was also thinking at this moment whether he should try the pure power of the Super Saiyan God. Wrong. Look, Knuckles' state is not right. 35. Suddenly, Ace seemed to notice something, and subconsciously shouted. Hearing this, Son Goku and the others looked at Carl subconsciously, but in Carl's body, they didn't see anything wrong. Subconsciously, everyone looked at Ace and said, "Ace, what did you notice?" 35. Add. The power of the gods is fused. Without selling out, Ace immediately said, under the circumstance of turning into rose red, "Don't you see that Carl's power is more restrained, even like normal?" Hearing this, Son Goku and the others were refreshed. Subconsciously raised his head and looked. After seeing Carl's situation at the moment, just as Ace said, when he transformed into the Super Race God Rose Red, his own strength was extremely restrained. It can even be said that in such a situation, some people feel incredible. You know, even if Son Gohan has the bloodline of Super Saiyan, it is impossible to achieve such a level. But Carl is just an ordinary Saiyan in the 6th universe. How can he do this? Battle. Before everyone could return to their senses, Carl's low roar resounded in the area. In the next second, his entire figure suddenly appeared in the area where Vegeta was located. Without the slightest hesitation, Carl's punch hit Vegeta's face. Not good. 99. When the crisis struck, Vegeta's face changed drastically. He could clearly feel how terrifying the latter blow was. Even if it can't be avoided, it is definitely a huge threat to him. Not caring about anything else, Vegeta hurriedly dodged to the side. In the next second, Carl's fist hit Vegeta's cheek. However, it wasn't for Vegeta to breathe a sigh of relief. An accident happened at this moment. There was a loud bang, and Vegeta's cheeks were twisted when he was caught off guard. Immediately afterwards, Carl's fist style could be seen savagely attacking his body. At this very moment, Vegeta's whole body was shot and flew out, and the blood was continuously spurting out of the ground. How is it possible? This is impossible. This scene immediately made Son Goku and others outside the venue exclaimed. They clearly saw that Vegeta avoided the attack, but what is this situation? Why did Vegeta get hit all of a sudden? He even looked seriously injured. For a time, everyone's eyes flashed with disbelief. Carl mighty brother is great. On the contrary, Ko and others from the 6th universe are cheering at the moment. They could all see that Carl had a very good, big advantage at the moment. It can even be said that Vegeta is almost impossible to be his opponent, although the latter's means are also intriguing. But under such circumstances, what they care more about is whether Carl can ensure his victory. Fist style. On the ground, Vegeta struggled to stand up, touched his distorted cheek, stared at Carl who was not far away, and gritted his teeth. Since you dare to plot against me, calculate. 35. Looking at Vegeta, Carl said indifferently, No, it's just a fighter jet. I have practiced for many years to complete it. I call it the extreme shadow boxing. Each attack can be followed by one, or even several punches. Even if you avoided my first attack, you would still be hit by my invisible attack. 39. Chapter 295 The Terrifying Extreme Shadow Fist. Add Shadow Fist. Multiple damage. After listening to Carl's narration, Son Goku and others outside the venue were suddenly enlightened. No wonder Vegeta avoided the attack but was seriously injured. No wonder Carl doesn't seem to have much power, but he can do so. Subconsciously, the eyes of each of them showed a dignified and horrified color. Although Carl has described the advantages of this polar shadow boxing, they have not been able to find any way to restrain it. Even in such a situation, they did not have much confidence in being able to resist it. For a time, everyone's expressions changed, and their eyes and hearts also vaguely felt uneasy and bad emotions. Ultra Shadow Fist. 35. Gorgeous tricks. 39. With a cold snort, Vegeta spoke with a livid face. Immediately afterwards, he stood up and fixed his eyes on Cal. Come on, this prince is going to break it today. After speaking, Vegeta brazenly attacked Cal. But everyone can clearly see that Vegeta has no chance of winning at this moment. Not only them, but Vegeta herself thinks so too. The reason why he is so persistent is because Vegeta wants to crack the giant fist and regain the lost face. Useless resistance. In this regard, Carl smiled indifferently and greeted Vegeta without any hesitation. In the next second, the two figures joined together in midair. At this moment, a terrifying force swept out. It can be clearly seen that Vegeta and Carl have started fighting again. However, things were as they expected, and the scene showed a one-sided trend at this moment. A badge. What? A series of screams resounded. It can be clearly seen that Vegeta was beaten passively, and even countless blood splattered all over his body. Under the attack of the Polar Shadow Fist, Vegeta didn't even have any resistance. Even if it hit Cal, he couldn't do it. Damn it. 35. Vegeta, what are you doing? Seeing this, Beerus, who was sitting on the Lord's seat, was angry, and the whole person stood up and roared. Unexpectedly, Vegeta is so unbearable. This is definitely something they did not expect. Even in this situation, Beerus has already seen that he is likely to lose his first game. The most important thing is that the two sides agreed that after one person defeated the other, he would continue to fight to the end. This also means that if you can't find a way to solve it, then with Carl's Polar Shadow Fist, you can completely defeat many opponents again. Haha. Instead, Champa was laughing out loud at the moment. Glancing at the furious Beerus, Champa said proudly, Beerus, see it, this is the warrior of our 6th universe. Comparatively speaking, your warriors in the 7th universe are obviously weaker. What Super Saiyan God Blue? Completely impossible to be my 6th universe Super Saiyan God Rose Red opponent. 35. Damn. 35. Hearing this, Beerus glared at Champa, filled with grief and anger. But he couldn't refute anything at the moment. After all, Vegeta's state was indeed not good, and there was not even much chance of winning. Kill you. I'm going to kill you. At this moment, Vegeta, who was covered in blood in the field area, roared suddenly. In the next second, it can be seen that the blue brilliance around him is dazzling, and the original azure brilliance is transformed into dark blue at this moment. In an instant, Vegeta completed the Super Saiyan God Dark Blue. At this moment, Vegeta's power soared by about 4 times, and a terrifying force swept out with a punch, directly knocking Carl out in front of him. PFFT. With blood spurting out of his mouth, Carl looked at Vegeta in horror and said, what is that? Your transformation has evolved again. Not only Carl, everyone, including the outside world, was also shocked, looked at Vegeta in awe, and said in disbelief, it has evolved. Super Blue has evolved again. Vegeta actually got stronger again at this crucial moment. Great, Dark Blue mode. After opening this form, Vegeta's power surpasses Carl. In an instant, countless cheers resounded. Son Goku, in particular, is even more excited at the moment. Vegeta really did it. Super Saiyan God Deep Blue. He also completed this transformed form. Very good. Giant Fist is not an invincible means. As long as Vegeta's power is higher than Cal's, it can completely break the existence of this giant fist. As soon as these words came out, Son Goku and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. Extreme Shadow Fist is not invincible. They all knew this before. But for the method of cracking, everyone has no clue. But now Vegeta has also provided them with an idea, what skills are not skills, and it is the best choice to do everything with one force. Haha. At this moment, Vegeta, who was bruised in midair, burst out laughing. Feeling his own situation, Vegeta laughed at this moment, his eyes locked on Cal, and he said, Cal, you are the loser. This prince has completed the Super Saiyan God Dark Blue, and now I am 4 times stronger than before. What can you do to fight me? Now, this prince will defeat you first. Saying that, Vegeta rushed out and attacked Cal. Is Super Saiyan God Dark Blue. To be able to go further, It seems that there is still room for my super ace god to go further. Seeing this situation, Carl's expression was awe-inspiring, and while he was muttering to himself, he did not have any fear. The next second, Carl jumped up and attacked Vegeta. In an instant, the two figures were madly fighting together. Come on Vegeta. On the high platform, Beerus shouted excitedly, give me the guy who beat the 6th universe. 35. Damn it. Seeing this, Champa's complexion also became ugly. He knew very well how bad the current situation was for Cal, and he couldn't sit still, and quickly shouted, Cal, beat Vegeta for me. You must not lose to the 7th universe guy. I command you to win the game. 66.99. With the opening of the two gods of destruction, the battle on the field entered a white-hot stage. But overall, Cal is at a disadvantage at the moment. Vegeta's power has obviously surpassed him, and even in battle, the power of the Polar Shadow Fist is getting weaker and weaker, and it can't even cause substantial damage to Vegeta. Chapter 296. Both sides hurt. Gabe vs Son Goku. Vegeta, come down with me. Suddenly, Carl burst into a drink. In the next second, Carl's whole body was bright red, and then the whole person jumped out and appeared in the area where Vegeta was. Before Vegeta could regain his senses, Carl grabbed Vegeta suddenly, then quietly accelerated, and flew out of the ring with Vegeta directly. Damn you, don't think about it! Seeing this, Vegeta's expression changed drastically. How could he not see what Carl's thoughts were? It was obviously not his opponent, but he also wanted to pull himself to fail. Subconsciously, Vegeta roared, and the power around him spurted out trying to break free from Carl's shackles. However, it was at this moment that an accident happened. It can be seen that the strength of Vegeta's whole body is for a while, and then the whole person directly exits from the dark blue form. The next second, before everyone could recover, the figures of Carl and Vegeta smashed onto the ground in the off-field area almost at the same time. This, fail together, perish together. Seeing this scene, everyone in the 6th universe and the 7th universe were dumbfounded. I never imagined that things would turn out to be such a big change. I thought that Vegeta would fail, but I didn't expect him to break through and complete the dark blue form. I thought that Vegeta could reverse everything, but I didn't expect to be pulled by Carl to fail together. This is really twists and turns and even a little unbelievable. Hey, how does this count? Whether Vegeta won or Carl won. At this time, Beerus and Champa, who were seated by the Lord, were in a hurry. They could all see that Carl and Vegeta failed together, but at the moment they felt a vague sense of unease in their hearts. After all, Vegeta's power suddenly dissipated at a critical moment, which meant that if the battle continued, Vegeta would lose. Both losers are hurt, both are out. In the ring, Bupa glanced at Beerus and Champa, and immediately said, the first match between the 6th universe and the 7th universe is a draw. Next, please send a second contestant from Universe Gods of Destruction from both sides. As soon as these words came out, both Beerus and Champa breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this is the result. Otherwise, no matter who wins or loses, it will be unacceptable for them. Looking at each other, Champa sneered and said, Beerus, I don't see that there are really good players in your 7th universe. But it's just a game. You're the 7th universe to be lucky. The next second game, my 6th universe will win. After speaking, Champa no longer hesitated, and immediately waved his hand. Gabe, you will go to the next game. Yes, Lord Champa. 35. With a promise, Gabe stepped out of the crowd, clasped his fists at Champa, and dashed toward the ring. It's Saiyan again. Seeing Gabe's situation, Beerus' eyes flashed, and he immediately looked at Champa and said, Champa, the lucky one in the first game is your 6th universe. If it wasn't for Vegeta not fully grasping the power of Super Saiyan God's Deep Blue, then Carl would definitely not be his opponent. 35. But the next one I send out is stronger than Vegeta, and you will be the one who will fail. After speaking, Beerus ignored Champa's ugly expression and immediately turned around and said, Son Goku, go up and knock that guy from the 6th universe away. Yes, Lord Beerus. With a promise, Son Goku was also very excited at the moment. After seeing the battle between Carl and Vegeta before, he can also clearly feel that Saiyan of the 6th universe is not weak. Under such circumstances, his heart is also full of anticipation at the moment, and he wants to fight with more powerhouses. Thinking of this, Son Goku no longer hesitated, and jumped towards the ring. Kakarot. 35. On the ground, Vegeta had a panoramic view of the scene, and the whole person's complexion became extremely ugly at this moment. Although he failed, he did not faint. He could hear Beerus' words clearly before, and it was because of this that Vegeta felt even more unwilling. Why does everyone think that they are not Son Goku's opponents? Just before. Now that he has completed the dark blue mode, even if Son Goku's basic combat power is stronger than him, it does not mean that his Vegeta is really weaker than others. Uncle Vegeta. 35. At this time, there was a sound. 0 flowers. Looking at the sound, Son Gohan can be seen in a hurry. When he arrived at the area where Vegeta was, he quickly stepped forward and helped Vegeta towards the area where everyone in the 7th universe was. Brother. At the same time, Cauliflower also arrived at Carl's place. Looking at her eldest brother's scarred appearance, a trace of regret flashed in Cauliflower's eyes, and then she said, "Brother, I will help you go back." 5. Let Vados heal you when you go back. It is good. Agreed. Carl did not refuse. Although he failed, he did not fail completely. Vegeta was pulled from the ring by him, which also means that he is just not on par with him. Even if there may be a gap, he still needs to work hard to cultivate, and even find a chance to complete the transformation beyond Super Saiyan Red. The second match, Gabe of Universe 6 vs Son Goku of Universe 7, is now on. In the ring, Bupa glanced at Son Goku and Gabe, who had already appeared, and immediately gave the order without hesitation. Having done all this, Bupa jumped and stepped back to the edge. After the figure stabilized, Bupa turned around and walked towards the area where Cauliflower was. Carl is his big brother after all. He was injured before, and he really couldn't just sit idly by. You are Saiyan too. In the ring, Gabe and Son Goku didn't start the fight trashly. Son Goku stared straight at where Gabe was, and asked with a look of anticipation, "By the way, can you also transform into that Super Saiyan God Rose Red? Can you show it and let me see? I look forward to fighting that form." Having said that, Son Goku's eyes are full of anticipation and eagerness. After all, the Super Saiyan God Rose Red is indeed a form he has never seen before, and it looks extremely powerful. Taking one look at Son Goku, Gabe understood that the latter should not be underestimated. After taking a deep breath, Gabe stepped forward, clenched his fists and said, "Ha!" In the next second, Gabe's whole body glowed with rose-red brilliance, and the whole person immediately transformed into the rose-red form of Super Saiyan God. 7. Chapter 297. The second battle begins. Bupa analyzes the dark blue form. In an instant, the rose-red brilliance illuminated the entire arena. After completing the transformation, Gabe's temperament also became cold. It can be seen that his eyes are fixed on the area where Son Goku is at the moment, and he said, "Let's start. Let me see your transformation, Super Saiyan God Blue or Super Saiyan God Dark Blue." As he spoke, Gabe looked at Son Goku with fear. After all, in such a situation, he doesn't think the latter has not completed a similar transformation of the previous Vegeta. This also means that this matter itself is not a good solution. Most importantly, he could feel the smiling Son Goku in front of him being harder to deal with than Vegeta. It is good. Nodding his head, Son Goku glanced at Gabe, and then said, "Since 217 is like this, then I will use Super Blue to play against you. 55. Saying that, Son Goku clenched his fists and immediately entered the blue form of Super Saiyan God. After completing the transformation, Son Goku's eyes immediately locked on Gabe's body and said, "Come on Gabe. 99. Let me see who is stronger and who is weaker than Super Race God Blue and Super Race God Rose Red." Hearing this, Gabe looked serious. He could feel that Son Goku was stronger than himself in Super Blue form. But he didn't intend to give up, and after taking a deep breath, he said, "Since this is the case, then I have to go all out." After saying that, Gabe jumped out and attacked Son Goku. "It's good to come." Seeing this, Son Goku laughed, and without any hesitation, he went straight to where Gabe was. In the next second, the two figures fought together in midair. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. The deafening roar resounded, and the radiance of rose red and blue could be seen constantly shuttled in the field. In the blink of an eye, the two sides were fighting together. In just a few breaths, the battle between the two entered a white-hot stage. Seeing that the battle was getting more and more sharp, everyone in the 6th universe and the 7th universe also looked at the area in awe. "Call out!" The sound of breaking through the air resounded, and Bupa's figure came to the area where Cauliflower was located. Cauliflower, with a shout, Bupa's figure appeared in the area where Cauliflower was located. Husband. 9. Seeing Bupa's arrival, Cauliflower was stunned for a moment, and then she looked overjoyed. "Aren't you a referee?" "No problem." Waving his hand, Bupa said indifferently, "It's just a mere referee, nothing important to me." And the fight between Gabe and Son Goku isn't going to end overnight. The main thing now is to fix Cal's injury. With that said, Bupa took out a bag with a thought and threw it to Cauliflower. "This is the fairy beans." 39. After eating one, no matter how serious the injury is, it can be restored to its original state. Leaving the 6th in a hurry before Universe forgot to give it to you and Kyle, now to give you some to keep you safe. Fairy beans. That thing, with a flash of light in her eyes, Cauliflower subconsciously thought of the fairy beans that Bupa gave them before. It was indeed an injury that could cure all. The previous Cauliflower almost died, and it was Xiandra who rescued her. Thinking of this, Cauliflower was overjoyed, and quickly took out a fairy bean and fed it to Carl beside her. After the fairy bean was eaten, Carl's injury quickly began to recover. In just a few breaths, Carl has recovered as before. After the whole person's condition recovered, Carl also stood firm, clasped his fists at Bupa and said, "Thank you, Lord Bupa." 35. It doesn't have to be. With a wave of his hand, Bupa said indifferently, "You are Cauliflower's eldest brother, and it is impossible for me to watch anything happen to you. However, Cal, your polar shadow boxing has very good potential. and you can continue to develop it in the future. After the extreme shadow boxing has reached its limit, I feel that no one in the same realm is your opponent. After all, the attack of the giant fist was not one attack, but a series of attacks. So, in such a situation, you have the possibility of becoming a real powerhouse. Yes. Hearing this, Carl's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Unexpectedly, his giant Quan can get such a high evaluation from Bupa. Immediately afterwards, Carl looked at Bupa excitedly and said, "By the way, Lord Bupa, can Super Saiyan continue to develop?" I see that Vegeta has also undergone a dark blue transformation on the basis of Super Blue. Does this mean that Super Saiyan God has a third stage transformation? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of Cauliflower, Kale and others also turned to Bupa. Even Son Goku and others in the far area are looking at Bupa expectantly at this moment. They all learned to transform into a super race god. But aside from Son Goku and Vegeta, their Super Saiyans are only in the second stage. Therefore, they also urgently want to know whether the Deep Blue is the third-order transformation of Super Saiyan God in the true sense. Yes, Super Saiyan God has a third stage, and even a fourth stage. After looking at Carl and Cauliflower, Bupa pondered for a while and then said, "But Vegeta's Dark Blue mode is not the third stage of Super Saiyan God. His Dark Blue mode, in the final analysis, is only an improvement in the form of Super Blue, and it only increases the combat power by about 4 times. It can be said that Super Saiyan God Deep Blue is just the full power state of Super Blue's transformation. So, if you want to catch up with them, it's not difficult." 0.7 When you develop the Super Saiyan God Rose Red you have now to the extreme, then you can enter the state of full power, which will not be inferior to the Super Saiyan God Dark Blue. 39 What? Not the third tier of Super Saiyan God Deep Blue mode is simply the full power state of Ultra Blue. Hearing Bupa's words, Saiyan who was present was dumbfounded. His eyes widened in disbelief, especially Vegeta. At this moment, he looked at Bupa in disbelief. This Dark Blue mode is only a state of Super Blue full power. Does that mean that he has not yet reached the third stage of Super Saiyan God? Then according to what Bupa said before, Chao Sai God even has a third and fourth stage. If so, how powerful would it be? Chapter 298 Frieza's Full Loyalty. Gudu. Swallowing her saliva, Cauliflower asked subconsciously, "Husband, what does the third rank of Super Saiyan look like?" 35 As soon as these words came out, Carl and others all looked at Bupa curiously. As for the third-order Super Saiyan God in the true sense, they are all curious at this moment. "What's it like?" Seeing Cauliflower and the others, Bupa's mouth rose, and then he said, "The third stage of Super Saiyan is, in a sense, a true god form. Under such circumstances, the third stage of Chao Sai God will completely master the power of God, and even incarnate the form of God. It can be said that the third rank of the Super Race God is the ultimate form of the Super Race God. Just like the gap between the Super 2 and the Super 3, the two are not the same grade at all, and their appearance will also undergo huge changes. Besides, once the third rank of the Super Saiyan God is completed, it will be able to completely stabilize the power of the gods, and even make it their normal appearance. At that time, fighting 20 powers in one suit will reach an extremely terrifying level." Hiss. After listening to Bupa's story, Cauliflower and the others couldn't help but take a deep breath. How could it be so powerful? Super Saiyan Tier 3. This is simply an incredible form, even making them dare not imagine. "Husband." Subconsciously, Cauliflower's eyes turned to Bupa with anticipation, and she asked, "Have you completed the transformation of the third level of Super Saiyan God?" As soon as these words came out, Carl and the others also looked at Bupa curiously. Although Bupa has never performed the ultimate transformation of Super Saiyan, they can also vaguely feel that the latter will also become Super Sailor. In this case, how far has Bupa reached the cultivation of Jiaoshan? "I? Of course I." Hearing this, Bupa glanced at Cauliflower and immediately denied it. After all, he really won't be able to surpass the third-order transformation of Sai God, as far as he knows. The one who can complete this step is the future Black Goku. That guy is the product of Son Goku's body when Zamasu seized the house. He directly combined the Supreme Kai power and the Super Saiyan's power, thus completing the third-order god form of the Super Saiyan. Ding. The loyalty of the bound character Frieza reaches 100, and the host will be rewarded Super Saiyan God middle god form. Suddenly, a warning sound resounded. Immediately, Bupa's body trembled, and the information about the Super Saiyan God form appeared in his mind. At this moment, Bupa subconsciously looked at where Frieza was not far away. "I didn't expect that this guy's loyalty would increase to 100, which is completely incredible. After all, even as his loyalty has not reached 100, and it stands to reason that this Frieza is even more unlikely. So why is Frieza's loyalty soaring all of a sudden, even directly to the point of 100? Of course I will." Although he was puzzled, Bupa didn't pursue anything at the moment, turned his head to look at Cauliflower and smiled lightly. "It's just a mere third-rank Super Race God. It's not difficult for me." "What?" Bupa really does. Hearing this, Cauliflower and the others were shocked. Even Kel, Son Goku and others who were in the distant area also looked at him. Even Son Goku and Gabe who were fighting in the ring, couldn't help but stop their movements. Add Super Saiyan God Tier 3. It's incredible that Bupa has completed such a transformation. At the same time, their hearts are also full of curiosity. What does the third level of Super Saiyan God look like? Subconsciously, everyone's eyes were focused on Bupa's body, and their eyes were filled with anticipation. What's the situation? Why did it stop? Seeing this, Beerus and Champa, who were seated by the Lord, were dumbfounded. The fierce battle just now stopped suddenly, which was completely different from what they expected. Subconsciously, everyone's eyes also locked on Bupa, including Champa, and Beerus is no exception. Husband 99. At this time, Califra said subconsciously, then can you transform into and let us see? Yes, yes. 35. Hearing this, Kaya on the side also looked at Bupa expectantly and said, husband, you will show us the power of the third stage of Super Saiyan God. As soon as these words came out, Son Goku and the others looked at Bupa with even hotter eyes, and their eyes were full of anticipation. Seeing everyone's reactions, Bupa pondered for a while before nodding. To be honest, he also really wanted to know what the third level of Super Saiyan God could achieve. God form. In the original book, Zamasu completely beat Super Blue Son Goku and Super Blue Vegeta with him. Even Super Blue Vegeta is not his opponent, which shows the horror of Super Saiyan's third stage. Thinking of this, Bupa didn't hesitate any longer, and said slowly, so, let's see the transformation of the third tier Super Saiyan God. Although I'm majoring in Super Tournament and Quan Super Mode, the third order power of this Super Tournament God is indeed good. 99. Having said that, Bupa no longer hesitated, and when his mind moved, the crimson brilliance shone, and his whole person directly entered the form of a Super Saiyan God. After all this was done, Bupa opened his mouth and said, this is the first stage of superstition. Years. Ha! With a low roar, Bupa immediately activated the Super Race God Pink transformation. With the radiance of pink, Bupa directly completed the transformation of Super Saiyan God Pink. After finishing all this, Bupa said, this is Super Saiyan God Pink, which is the second stage of Super Saiyan God. Super Race God Pink. Another different transformation. Seeing this, Son Goku and the others subconsciously exclaimed, with a hint of horror in their eyes. Compared with the previous Super Blue and Rose Red, the Peach Red form at this moment is even more shocking. That power is different from the power of Chao Saiyan God, and even vaguely seems to have a trace of special power. Supreme Kai Force. The power of Supreme Kai. At this time, Beerus and Champa's eyes flashed, their eyes locked on Bupa's body, and they said slowly, good guy. This guy actually integrated the Supreme Kai power into the Super Race God transformation. I didn't expect that Saiyan could become so powerful after mastering the Supreme Kai power. Even from the form of Super Saiyan Peach Red, it is more stable than Super Blue and 3 points stronger than Rose Red. Chapter 299 Super Saiyan God Form Shock Debut. Sure enough, Lord Bupa is the same as mine. Son Goku's eyes flashed, and his breathing became more and more rapid at this moment. Super Saiyan God Pink. This is the transformed form he has completed, and Bupa's is exactly the same as him. That also means that the third order Super Saiyan God he displayed will be what he may become in the future. Thinking of this, Son Goku's eyes were full of anticipation. Not only him, but also Vegeta, Cal, Kaya, Son Goku and others are staring straight at Bupa at the moment. Their eyes are full of expectations for the third rank of Super Saiyan God. Alright, this is the second level of Super Saiyan God. Opening his eyes, Bupa glanced at the people around him, and then said, I will then perform the third stage. 35. With a low growl, Bupa immediately activated Super Saiyan God. The next second, the white brilliance followed. It can be clearly seen that Bupa's entire appearance has undergone earth-shaking changes at this moment. The whole body was covered with white brilliance, and the terrifying power of God swept out. In just a few breaths, Bupa's entire appearance turned into that of white hair and white eyes. Even in this form, Bupa can clearly feel that his combat power has been increased by 80 million times. In an instant, Bupa's entire body's strength rapidly soared to the level of Ganges Sand, which was the 14th level. Gyudu God form. This is the true form of God. 95. Seeing this scene, Beerus and Champa stood up abruptly, and the whole people couldn't help exclaiming. Their eyes were full of incredible colors. Also shocked were Vados and Whis, who widened their eyes and said, Angel form. This is the prototype of Angel's form. Saiyan can actually evolve into Angel form. What the hell is going on? At this moment, gods of destruction and angels were dumbfounded. I felt incredible about the Super Saiyan God form displayed by Bupa. This is Super Saiyan God form apostrophe. Too strong. This is the transformation of the third tier of Super Saiyan God. The improvement at this moment is terrible, and it is not comparable to the second stage. 35. It's unbelievable that this Super Saiyan God form has really changed so much. 66. 99. Similarly, Son Goku and others all exclaimed at the moment. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them, and their hearts were filled with awe and yearning. Too strong. The breath of Super Saiyan God form is too strong. The enhanced power made them feel that they were unmatched, and even their own transformations could not reach the point. Good guy. Big Brother's Super Saiyan God form is so powerful. Suppression really has the possibility to go to a higher level. 66.99. Bbololian Blue opened their mouths subconsciously, and their eyes became hot at this moment. Especially Boluolian. He has also learned Super Saiyan, and even completed the transformation of Super Blue. The Super Saiyan God in front of him is stronger than his Super 3+ pass in a sense. What if he could further cultivate Super Saiyan God to the level of Super Saiyan God? The main thing is that Bupa has said before that this Super Saiyan God form is likely to be the means to maintain normalcy. This also means that if he completes his cultivation, he may be able to continue to strengthen at that time. 80 million times increase. It's really not to be underestimated. Opening his eyes, Bupa's eyes also revealed a hint of horror at the moment. If he hadn't already completed the transformation of Super 4 and Quan Super 3, I'm afraid he would really be moved for 3 points. However, although the boost of Super Saiyan God form is indeed very powerful, it is not enough for Bupa. Such an increase has allowed him to reach the 14th order combat power, but in fact it is not as good as the superposition of Super 4 and Quan Super 3. In addition, this Super Saiyan God form cannot be superimposed with the rage state at all. This also means that this Super Saiyan God form is powerful for ordinary Saiyans, but it does not have much meaning for Quan Chao. Of course, this so-called Quan Chao is aimed at Bupa, Bbololian Boluolian. Only the power of their bloodline can interpret Quan Chao to the extreme, and Kia's medium Quan Chao bloodline is completely insufficient to reach such a level. Thinking of this, Bupa immediately looked at Cauliflower and said, "This is the third tier of Super Saiyan. I call it Super Saiyan God form. Diaresis. It can enhance the combat power by 80 million times, and it is more than dozens of times stronger than the blue, pink and rose red of the second rank of the standard Super Ace God." Tilda. Swallowing her saliva, Cauliflower's eyes were a little hot. Super Saiyan God form is too handsome and too strong. This is definitely a dream for her to achieve. Subconsciously, Cauliflower then asked, "Husband, can I complete this transformation? What are the conditions and shortcuts for completing Super Saiyan God form?" As soon as these words came out, Cal, Son Goku, Vegeta and others also all looked at Bupa's place with anticipation in their eyes. There are no shortcuts. 99. In this regard, Bupa smiled lightly, and then said, "To achieve this step, in addition to cultivating the second order form of superstition to the extreme." 35. The most important thing is to thoroughly cultivate one's own divine power to the extreme, so as to combine it with a second order super ace god. 35. Liao Zhao, the power of the two superimposes each other, and even after reaching a tacit understanding, can they have the opportunity to enter this Super Saiyan God form? I see. After listening to Bupa's remarks, Son Goku and others suddenly realized. However, although the key is known, it is extremely difficult to achieve this step, and there is not even much possibility. After all, as Saiyan, they still have an unstable grasp of their own divine power, so how can they cultivate to the extreme? In particular, they are still learning gods of destruction. If they want to cultivate it to the extreme, they must become gods of destruction, or gods of destruction candidates. But obviously, neither the 6th universe Saiyan nor the 7th universe Saiyan can do this. The only closest ones are Boluolian and Son Goku. The former is a candidate for gods of destruction, while the latter is a supernatural power of cultivation, and there is absolutely no need to become gods of destruction. Chapter 300 Angel Prototype. The gods are shocked. Son Goku. Gabe 35. At this moment, the battle between Son Goku and Gabe in the ring started again. At this moment, both of them attacked each other frantically. After seeing the Super Saiyan God form, both of them are also full of longing and yearning. Son Goku is okay. He has completed the dark blue form, and it can be said that he has cultivated the second level of Super Saiyan God to the extreme. But Gabe is different. He is still only in the second order state, and has not reached the extreme level at all. Therefore, in such a situation, Gabe desperately wanted to use the pressure given by Son Goku to become stronger, and Son Goku wants to take this opportunity to cultivate the power of God in his body. After all, if you want to complete the Super Saiyan God form, you have to cultivate the divine power in your body to the extreme. But in the current situation, it is almost impossible for the power of God in his body to reach the extreme. Therefore, as far as the current situation is concerned, only by fighting against a stronger opponent can we become stronger. For a time, the two figures fought fiercely, and the battle also entered the stage of white-hot. Bupa. At this time, Beerus, Champa, Vados and 220 Whis quietly came to the place where Bupa was. After floating to the ground, Beerus and Champa subconsciously asked, "Did your Super Saiyan God form directly make you a god?" 99. I can clearly feel that the breath on your body has completely become the breath of God. The most important thing is that from your Super Saiyan God form, you are completely a god now. Hearing this, Bupa glanced at Beerus and Champa. Become a god. Now he can indeed be called a god. Even a real Super Saiyan god. However, He is also very clear that he has not yet reached the point where he can completely stabilize the Super Saiyan God form. That is to say, this is just one of the means of transformation, rather than the normal state. In the end, the practice of Super Saiyan God's form is not even as good as the Super 4 he has mastered, which can be transformed into normal fighting. No. 35. After hesitating for a while, Bupa then replied, I am not a god in the true sense right now. And, this form is difficult to maintain permanently, so it's just a transformed form. Hearing this, Beerus and Champa both breathed a sigh of relief. If Bupa really took this opportunity to complete the evolution of the gods, it would definitely be a huge blow to them. After all, they were also the top powerhouses in the universe back then, and they were even extremely talented. However, it was still unable to complete the transformation between mortals and gods, and finally had to choose to become gods of destruction, completely mastering the status of gods, the power of gods, and the lifespan of gods. If Bupa does this now, it will be a huge blow for Beerus and Champa. Mortals can really become gods with their own strength. Doesn't that mean that their previous actions were cowardly choices? Mr. Bupa is humble. However, before Beerus and Champa could continue to say anything, Whis on the side said quietly, although you can't completely maintain the Super Saiyan God form yet, but with your talent and ability, you will definitely be able to master it completely within 10 years. Once this Super Saiyan God form is completely mastered and turned into a normal state, then you can directly become an angel, and it is also a very special angel. What? Become an angel? Hearing this, Bupa was dumbfounded. Beerus and Champa were also dumbfounded. Even Boluolian, who was on the side, was full of disbelief and doubts. Angel. Bupa just completed the transformation of Super Saiyan God. How can he become an angel? Mr. Bupa doesn't believe it. Seeing Bupa's reaction, Whis said with a slightly raised corner of his mouth, you are considered a god in your current appearance, but you are still in the embryonic stage. As long as you can develop a new transformation on the basis of this Super Saiyan God, you will be able to transform into an angel. There has always been angel in universe, but angel was conceived through some special means. But before that, angel's original birth was not conceived by herself, but by human cultivation. Your current appearance is just like the sun angel in the ancient records. You have the basic conditions to become an angel, but you have not completely reached that point. Grumbling. Hearing this, Bupa and the others all swallowed. Including Bupa itself is no exception. Unexpectedly, the transformation of this Super Saiyan God form will be one of the foundations of becoming an angel. No wonder the black Goku in the original book is so powerful, and even the Super Blue Vegeta after the fusion is not an opponent. It turns out that it's not how strong Super Saiyan God's transformation is, but because the two are not the same dimension after completing Super Saiyan God's transformation. The most important thing is that the final God form of Zamasu is definitely the full power state of the third stage of Super Saiyan. If it weren't for Son Goku's summoning of Zeno, Zamasu wouldn't have failed if he merged. At the same time, Bupa also thinks of Zamasu, the fusion of the Arcana. Although he was injured and has not recovered, he undoubtedly survived under the erasure of Zeno. That is to say, Zamasu survived with his own power and immortality when he was obliterated by Zeno in the future. This also means that although Zeno's erasure can terribly eliminate a universe, it still cannot do one-time erasure for some special existences. Immortal. Should I also wish for the immortal body to Super Shenron? If I can achieve the powerful vitality of the combined Zamasu, does that mean that Zeno's erasure will not necessarily be able to completely eliminate me? At this moment, Bupa's inner thoughts kept turning, and he began to think about the future rapidly in his mind. Wise. At this time, Beerus first came back to his senses and said subconsciously, you mean that angel can be successfully cultivated artificially? How is this possible? Angel is one of the most supreme beings in the universe. How can it be possible to cultivate successfully? As soon as these words came out, Champa also reacted, and quickly looked at Vados and said, Vados, what is the situation? 35. Sun Angel, what the hell is this? Why is this guy able to cultivate to become an angel? If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, link is in the description. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.